Hello. This working?
Yeah, it came through.
It is? Okay. All right. We are going to get started, everyone. Can people online hear me?
Yes. Do it again.
Can you hear me? All right, great. Okay. Hello, I'm Brad Sherburne, the chair of Manhattan Community Board 5. We will begin tonight with our public hearing. So I will hand it over to our first vice chair, Yaron Noti Victor.
Okay, good evening, everyone. This is the public hearing of Manhattan Community Board 5. I'm Yaron Noti Victor, and I'll be your chair for the public hearing. During the public hearing, members of the public are invited to speak for 2 minutes per person on the subject set forth in the agenda, or any topic that relates to the affairs of the community district. If you would like to address the board before it votes on any matters tonight, now is your opportunity to do so. Although there will be a public session during the full board meeting later, that public session will be at the end of the meeting after all of the votes have taken place. So if you want to address the board on any matters before it votes tonight, now is your time to do so. So if you'd like to speak during this public hearing, please use the raised hand button now. And then when you're recognized, you'll be allowed to speak and unmute yourself. So let's begin the public hearing with people in the room. And we'll start with Charles Nye. Charles, you have 4 minutes.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Charles and I am a resident of Community Board 5. I also was previously homeless and I attended the Quality of Life Committee, and a very important subject was being spoken about, which was homelessness and the involuntary removal of those who have mental health issues. And I was disappointed that throughout that meeting, a few times, that a member of that committee decided to state to the speakers in a very apologetic tone about them missing the Yankees game. And for me, I felt very upset and disappointed because I find that the homeless topic is more important than apologies to members of a panel that they're going to miss a Yankees game or that they are missing Yankees game, and being kept up to date of what the results of that Yankees game is. I would have thought that if they were so concerned of being the panel of the Yankees game, that they wouldn't turn up to the committee. So I was very upset and disappointed that it took place. Also, it was said by someone else in that committee that homeless people are dangerous. I find this to be a very harmful stereotype. There's also many homeless people who are veterans who fought to protect this country and end up homeless. I'm sure that they would be also upset that this dangerous label is being placed upon them. Also during that meeting, it was brought up about problems with e-bikes, and a member of that committee said that they get pushback from the Transportation Committee about addressing the topic of e-bikes. I know I can't go any further on some things, but there are people who have ties to certain lobbyist groups, such as Transportation Alternatives. I do hope, as a member of the public, that that is not the case, why the Transportation Committee will not hear e-bikes, because that'd be very disappointing, since community boards were originally set up as community planning committees during Mayor Lindsay's time, and it's to foster engagement with the residents of the district. These community boards are meant to actually help the communication between residents, city officials, and local government and should be a voice for the community. I'd like to also say that I was also disappointed during the Parks Committee that we keep on hearing about transparency about Bryant Park. I think those in glass houses shouldn't throw stones because, again, unfortunately, members of the public like myself do not know which members belong to what lobbyist groups. We don't know how many community board members live in the actual district versus live outside of the district. I think it'd be really good for us to know exactly who on the board is making decisions. Are they actually coming from the heart and from the individuals themselves, or is it coming from somewhere else? And how many members are actually making decisions in the actual local district? And I'm sure that could be put up on the website. You don't have to write people's names. You could just put the numbers. You know, is it 10 people who live outside the district, or is it 5 that live outside the district? Who works and lives outside, or who works and lives inside the district?
Okay, please wrap up your
Thank you.
comments.
And I'll thank you very much. And if you could please post that link on the website so people can follow the voting as was promised a few meetings back. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, we'll move on to Michael Kabak. Mike, you have 2 minutes. All right.
We had a great weekend this weekend, didn't we? I got out to spend some time outside. My granddaughter was in from South Carolina, where she goes to college. So we had a picnic in Central Park. Let me tell you, if you want to go to a great place, let me recommend this park. It's right in the central part of the city. If you haven't been there, you should go. It was packed. I took a bunch of pictures. I mean, you think parks get packed? You should have been around the fountain there, that gorgeous fountain, Angel of the Waters, and you would have seen at least 2 people getting paid to write poems, other people drawing, little 9-year-old girls singing, a multitude of people. Keep that in mind, all in one little area in our most beautiful park where I had a great time. Also, I went to Madison Square Park where I gave a tour on Sunday, so I happened to be there. And they got such great stuff going on now. They got a garden walk. They got October sunset tours and history of the park also on 1028. A lot of great stuff going on in that park. And there's a ton of people there. There's nothing better than visiting in our parks. Also, the bid, Madison, the bid of Madison Square Park has a Flatiron Nomad has a Dia de Muerto going on this pretty much entire month till 11/2. So I'd like to encourage everybody who doesn't take advantage of our parks and wants to hear some great music and great stories and enjoy some great weather, check out all of our parks here in the walking distance of Community Board number 5. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Josiah Ryan, please.
Good evening. So I've been a New Yorker for about 12 years. I guess that officially makes me a New Yorker. And I've worked right around here for the whole 12 years in these sort of towers around Bryant Park. I don't have any data on this, and I should probably look into it. But my feeling in the last few years, this year especially, is that we've really lost Bryant Park. It's no longer a park. It's like a venue. And for those of us who work around there, many, many thousands of people, it is truly the only green space within walking distance during a typical lunch break. And I spent the entire summer here, and I'm sure this was just bad luck because I know the grass is open some days, but not once, and maybe a dozen times that I went down to just have a little bit of peace and quiet, a little bit of silence, a little bit of a break from the Zoom rooms, and the noise, the digital noise that we have to take in all day, was the park open just for actual New Yorkers who live here and work here to just relax and enjoy taking a little sunshine, a little green grass. I appreciate the effort that, you know, everyone, the Bryant Park, everyone who runs Bryant Park puts into all these programming and these shows and this music, the 4 or 5 months of ice skating and all of that. But I would love it if you just sort of thought first of the people who live and work around here and have a little compassion on us. We need this beautiful park. We don't need a venue. We don't need more music. We don't need more entertainment. We have all of that in profusion. What we need is some peace and some quiet and some nature. So my request is that you make Bryant Park a park again. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Lisa Wager.
Hello, I'm Lisa Wager, Director of Government Community Relations at the Fashion Institute of Technology, the SUNY College on West 27th between 7th and 8th in the district. I'm here with an FIT update. Last week, we learned that 3 of the 4 winners of the CFDA Veronica Beard Creative Futures Scholarship are FIT students. This new scholarship recognizes 4 BFA fashion designer textile students excelling in specific categories: denim, knits and sweaters, soft wovens, and tailoring. Each recipient received a $50,000 scholarship and a paid summer internship at Veronica Beard's corporate headquarters in New York City. This is what can happen when talent meets great public education. Today, during our annual Sustainability Week, the Student Government and Fashion Design Department tabled on the Breezeway, which is on our campus, to introduce students to our fabric recycling initiatives and ways to get involved. The Fabric Recycling Program is a student government-led initiative that aims to reduce FIT's environmental impact and CO2 emissions by collecting fabric scraps and muslin from the fashion design classrooms and studios on campus. Last semester, the FRP recycled over 2,700 pounds of fabric, and this not only offset nearly 11,000 pounds of CO2, it also saved nearly 2 million gallons of water, 1,500 cubic feet of landfill space, and over 4,000 kilowatts of energy. So we're doing good in the neighborhood. The FIT Library's first Love Your Library event is just in time for LGBTQ+ History Month. It will feature a screening and moderated discussion of the award-winning documentary Playing with Dolls, a beautifully crafted and emotionally rich film capturing the lives of Midtown Manhattan's transgender showgirl community from the 70s through the 90s. With themes of artistry, resilience, and self-expression, it brings visibility to a powerful history often left untold. Ms. Lena Bradford will moderate a discussion with documentary producer Ms. Pearl and other panelists after the film. That's next week on October 15th at 6:30 in the Katie Murphy Amphitheater, and welcome fall. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move. We have a number of speakers tonight who want to speak on the carriage question. So I'm going to call your names. It's my understanding some are ceding their time to someone else. So if you are, just please let me know when I call your name. So we'll start with Robert Rosenberg. Okay. Christina Hansen.
Hi, all. I'm Christina Hansen. I am the Chief Shop Steward for TW Local 100 Central Park Horse Carriage Division. I want to thank, first of all, the Quality of Life Committee and the chairperson, Tiffany Rivas, for inviting me last week to the committee hearing to spend time with you guys and answer your questions about what all is going on politically with the carriage horses. I was, however, disappointed with the resolution that was proposed and seconded that just assumed that the recommendation of that committee would be to ban carriages no matter what, and then have, you know, some sort of hearing later to discuss the details on jobs and humane disposition of horses, when in fact the purpose of a hearing in city council is to determine whether or not such legislation is even needed at all. Our stables are always open, you know, to people like the community boards. I don't know, the Community Board 5 has had a tour of our stables recently, but during the previous administration, this community board did support the carriage horses, and nothing really has changed except for increased oversight, further regulations, and, things that continue to make our, additional water troughs, things that continue to make everything here in New York City better for our horses, which is already a great place for them to be. This year celebrates 400 years of horses living in New York City here in Manhattan. I'm still very proud to be a carriage driver in Central Park and to have them here with us. So I think the wording of this resolution to just assume that no matter what kind of amendments are made, no matter what a hearing shows, that this community board is going to support eliminating carriage horses from Central Park. That makes me kind of wonder about our first speaker who talked about, what kinds of political affiliations and lobbying might have already been going on here, that this particular committee just, moved and assumed that there would be a support of a ban no matter what a hearing or amendments resulted.
Thank you. We'll go to, I think I'm reading this right, Lonnie Rosenberg. Okay. Alexis Lawson. Okay. If you're online and you're going to speak on the carriage question and you're ceding your time to Pete, can you raise your hand right now, please? Okay, I see one. And based on the names there, is that correct, Pete? Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we'll come back to the room, and Pete, you have 10 minutes.
Yes, please.
Everybody hear me? Yeah. Okay. My name is Pete Donahue. I'm the Director of Communications for the Transport Workers Union of America. I speak for John Samuelson, our president. We represent about 160,000 workers across the United States, big unions and big locals and small locals. And a couple of years ago, the carriage drivers came and asked for our assistance. Literally, you've got a collection of immigrant workers making $50,000, $75,000 a year who are relentlessly under attack in the media and with social media by a very well-paid, funded organization. Let me just talk quickly, and I don't know if there's a clock that I can, oh, there it is. Okay, great. The number one reason why you should not support this bill, and even if it's with contingencies and things like that, you should not even give any credence or any oxygen to this bill is people don't want it. A poll was released today by Slingshot Strategies. Yes, we paid for it, but it's a legitimate poll. The questions and answers are free to be looked at. They're not loaded up questions. And the poll found that, first of all, is a poll of regular park goers, people who go to Central Park at least once a month. Many of these people go a couple times a week, a couple times a month. So these are people, 50% of them who responded were from Manhattan. So they're familiar. They're not just getting their opinions off TikTok or what you read in the tabloids. Their opinion is based in part on what they see. Some of them have taken rides, some of them have not. But they're based on people who see what they park at the park. There's strong support for keeping the carriages, with 70% saying they add charm and beauty to the park. 70%. 60% of those said that they flat out oppose banning carriage horses, compared to 34%. 60% say carriage rides are part of a timeless tradition that should be preserved, compared to 30% who say that should not. 65% believe carriage horses are important to preserving the Central Park's character and history. Again, these are constituents of yours, if I can use that term. 52% of those surveyed are Manhattanites, while the others are from around the boroughs. Like I said, yeah, we pay for the poll. People pay for polls, but you're free to look at it, talk to the methodology, talk to the people who did the poll, look at the questions and answers. Now, I understand that what you pass, the resolution, has some contingencies. We support the riders' law contingent on something more concrete for the workers who will lose their jobs, people who have families and bills to pay. And this law just vaguely says, we'll do a job training. Now, how would you like me to come into your office and say, I don't like what you do, so I'm going to take your job away, and we're going to pass a legislation wiping out your job? don't worry. We're going to create a job training program for you. You know, we saw this with NAFTA, didn't we? People laid off, screwed. I'm sorry to use that language, but screwed. There's no contingency. There's no contingency at all. There's nothing concrete about it. And the horses, it costs at least $1,000 a month to take care of a horse, to shelter, to feed it, to give it the care that these horses really do get. So you have about 200 horses. Most of them are in farms. Most of them spend 3-4 months a year on farms. They have to spend 5 weeks. Most of them spend 2-3 months out there. You're talking about, I forget the math, $2.4 million a year to take care of 200 horses. Every year, tens of thousands of horses, American horses, who do not have homes because there aren't people to take care of them, are shipped to slaughterhouses in Canada and Mexico. Tens of thousands of them. Now you're going to add 200 more horses to that pipeline. Horses who come here are not going to the slaughter auction because they help raise money that goes for their care. So if there aren't enough rescue operations and they're not regulated, people say, I love a horse, I'm going to start a rescue operation. Yeah, I'll take a horse. They're a mess. So these horses, some of them probably will die, but think about the when they're retired, the 200 horses behind them and the 200 horses behind them. Like I said, 20, 30,000 horses a year are slaughtered right now because there isn't enough to care, people with the income, the means to care for them. And passing with those kind of contingencies on its face is, you know, I know it was done in good faith, is ridiculous. That's like saying, I'm going to support for the big, beautiful bill, as long as down the road they take care of Medicaid and don't cut it. I support the big, beautiful bill as long as they don't cut, you know, the nutrition program for poor kids. If you pass this bill, the only headline is Community Board 5 supports Riders Law. That's all it's going to be. And those contingencies won't happen. If they wanted them to happen, they would put them in the bill. If they cared about the horses, it would be in the bill. I don't want to go into conspiracy theories, but let me tell you a little bit about NICLAS. NICLAS was founded by real estate developers. Its president is a real estate developer. They spend, I'll look it up in the IRS. They spend $1 million a year on publicity, lobbyists, and lawyers. So a lot of people, and probably people here sitting here, have this view of this industry that I have come to know firsthand. And you see these images of horses running wild, of horses in the street. It's not the real picture. We all know how social media can be manipulated. And if you have $1 million a year to put out an image and taint people's opinion, you can get a lot done, including a lot of council members who immediately signed on to this bill when there was a tragic incident. Many of them called up and said, oh, we didn't, you know, my staffer put your name on it. I was on vacation, my staffer put a name on it. Or they did it because they don't want to get targeted by this organization that spends $1 million a year to go after you. The latest example, and I'm telling you, I was a reporter for 30 years, 23 years in the Daily News. I never saw a person or an organization that churns out so much vile lies as this group. It is insane. And the latest example is a tweet that they put out attacking Speaker Adrienne Adams, who's probably one of the classiest people you ever meet. They attack her and they have a series of horses. Horses on the ground. If you're walking down the street and you have a heart attack or a seemingly healthy 42-year-old, we all know that happens. When you have a community of 200 horses or a community of 200 people, people are going to trip. They're going to break their legs. A seemingly healthy neighbor is going to collapse and have a heart attack. It's going to happen. And if you take pictures, how would you like it if your relative died on the street and someone took a picture and said, that's abuse? That's what happened with the recent incident with Lady. Seemingly healthy horse, passed her exam, dropped dead because she had an aortic rupture by a tiny, tiny tumor. that was not detected in the physical. And they say abuse. I'm thinking of the people. They are accusing real people that I've come to know of being criminals, of being criminal animal abusers. And it's wrong and it's atrocious. And that tweet that I just mentioned, it had a horse laying on the ground. The horse was in Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah. One of the horses tripped and simply fell, got up, was fine. One of them was Lady, had that unfortunate incident. Lady wasn't even cold and they were screaming abuse and that the people abused that horse. They didn't even wait for that necropsy. They didn't wait till the next day. We, the industry, the union insisted, and our veterinarian insisted that Cornell University take a look at that horse. And Cornell University determined that there was nothing that could have been done, that this was a natural cause. It was a tragic incident. If you pass this bill, what you are essentially saying are these people are criminals who are abusers. And I've come to learn that is not the case. You could table this. Come to the stable. It's wide open. Come talk to the veterinarian. Come take a tour. Some of these lies are just like ridiculous and atrocious. They say that these horses are in traffic 24 hours a day. The only time they're on the street is when they go to and from the park. They say these horses don't have stalls in which they can turn around and lay down. Absolutely false. They say these stalls don't have windows. Absolutely false. The main stable, every horse has a fan on it. There are windows. The architect who designed the mall for the park horses in Washington, D.C., came to the stable at our request and took a loan. And he suggested we build cupolas for more air.
If
And
you
he
could
did
wrap
that.
up your comments, please.
I'm saying, I'll try to wrap up. I hope I did everything. But the bottom line is, people don't want it. The people who go to the park don't want it. This is a very strong poll. I urge you, there's a lot of resolutions you can pass. You can pass resolutions. 1 second, I promise.
Okay.
They talk about horses, runaway horses, maybe 6 in the last 11 years. For years, we've been asking the city to take a very simple solution. At 3 of the hack stands, put a couple hitching posts. So if a driver is distracted and the horse takes off, he can't do that with hitching posts. That's a simple solution that would end that problem. But de Blasio didn't want to do it.
Okay. Can you wrap up?
There are a lot of things you can do other than wiping out people's jobs and sending horses to a much, much riskier future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We're going to take a pause from the public hearing for a second because I see that Assemblymember Epstein is here. Is he? There he is. So come on up.
All right, good evening, everyone. All right, good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Yeah, we doing okay?
Yeah.
People are happy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't tell. It's gonna, okay. Well, for those who are Jewish like me, Happy New Year for those who are celebrating. Folks who don't know me, my name is Harvey Epstein. I'm a state assembly member, represent the 74th Assembly District. It's my 8th session, 8 years in Albany. We have our report that is online, and we have some hard copies if you want. I know it was a big issue that has been going on for the summer was the casino on the east side. I know, obviously casinos in Manhattan were a big issue, and there was one in my district, and my representative Rashma Patel and the other members of the CAG voted against that casino, as you all know, and all 3 projects in Manhattan were voted down. A lot of conversations about whether Manhattan was an appropriate place for a casino. And I think we really felt pretty strongly that it really wasn't an appropriate place. There were so many issues that came into effect around that issue. Some people were raising concerns about the potentially lack of affordable housing and what happens next. But I think, the reality was there was a last minute proposal to make the whole development 100% affordable. And while we want 100% affordable housing projects, I think that came in too late in the day to even impact the proposal at all. So hopefully, whatever happens for that location, which is on First Avenue between 38th and 42nd, we'll see some real community benefits from that. My hope is that we'll see real affordable housing and real units. Obviously, there's the largest undeveloped land in all of lower Manhattan. And so we'd love to see something happening big there. We have a couple of events coming up. There's some shredding we're doing. We're doing some community events. We'll do e-waste events. You guys should keep your eyes out for those if people are interested in that. And I'll also end with two quick things. One is just maybe my last meeting as an assembly member, and I wanted to thank you all for your work and your commitment. As I've said many times before, I served on my community board for 14 years as chair of the board, as well as various committees. This is not easy work. It's just not, it's complicated. And I really appreciate you all taking the time to dig into these issues. A lot of them take a lot of time and a lot of energy, and I know how hard it is. And I just want to thank you for all your service. And I can't not talk about Ryder's Law in this moment because, I just, I think we should all act in good faith. And I work with TW all the time, and I sat down with John recently about it. But the answer isn't to attack people who support it. The answer is to have a conversation. And if you attack people like Eric Botcher, who's a friend because he cares about the issue, or the council, you can agree to disagree about what the path might be. But I think having endless attacks don't work for most New Yorkers. We've seen that in election after election. And if people really of like minds want to have conversations about the future of the horse carriage industry, that's an important conversation to have. It's an important conversation to have in our city and what our city looks like. And I think that's a critical thing to be doing, but it has to be in a much more productive way than what we're seeing happening right now. As people know, I'm a supporter of Ryder's Law, and I think we need to move past this industry. And I applaud the board for moving forward with the resolution. But I also hope that we know that when we have conversations around this, people of goodwill are going to disagree. That is what a democracy is like. That is what our democracy is about. And that is what is a responsibility to each other. But to treat people as human beings and caring individuals and thoughtful people is also what our responsibility is. And not to, put baseless attacks on individuals, whether they're the speaker of the council or a council member. And I hope going forward, I do hope you pass this resolution, but I hope going forward, we can all engage in productive conversations about the future of this industry and so many other things, whether it's around mental health and public safety, whether it's around affordable housing, whether it's about the environmental justice and what we need to do to move to deal with the climate crisis we're experiencing. People don't always agree, but we all are better served by having a dialogue and learning more from each other. So thank you for taking the time for letting me speak. If there's a question, I'm happy to take if the chair allows, but I wanted to come tonight.
Yeah. Are there any questions? All right.
All right. Thank you all. Have a great night.
Okay, we'll go back to the public hearing and we'll go online. So will those who would like to speak during the public hearing, please raise your hand now. And I will start with Connor McHugh. You should be able to unmute yourself now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Hi. So my name is Connor McHugh. I've been a carriage driver.
Wait,
for
I'm
40
sorry,
years.
Connor. We're having some audio issues in the room. Can you just pause for a second?
Sure.
Is that as loud as?
We turn it up.
Is there a way to make that louder? Okay, Connor, can you start again?
Okay. My name is Connor McHugh. Can you hear me better?
A little, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I've been a carriage driver for 40 years in Central Park. I'm also the part owner and manager of the largest stable on the west side, and I'm the owner of 2 carriages. And, it seems amazing to me how people seem to completely disregard the level of investment from both time and money that has been put into this business. And, It just, every time somebody talks about banning us, it's just like, let's ban them. Nothing about let's compensate them, nothing about what are they going to do tomorrow, how are they going to pay their bills, how are they going to keep their buildings afloat, how are they going to keep their own personal lives afloat. Nothing about any of this. Now, you guys all know the history of the world. We have been trashed and insulted and ridiculed by New York class and others for years now. So much so that they're going to try to justify the fact that you guys come up with the idea to just literally rob us. And this is not the first time in history that this has happened. It has happened on much larger scales to my own people in Ireland and to people in other countries, where people have so demonized that it's okay to just take everything they own off them and move on. But you really, really need to think about this. I mean, we're out there in Central Park. We have customers. People come to us for years, for generations, to ride in our carriages. We must be doing something right. You know, do you ever think about this? I mean, like, why would people, normal people, walk up and hop into our carriages, which they have been doing for 150 years and riding around the park? And when I tell
If you could wrap up your comments, please, Connor.
When I tell people what I do, people talk about the horse-drawn carriages, Central Park, the Eiffel Tower, the Statue of Liberty, institutions that exist all over the world that people gravitate to. So before you vote to wipe us off the map, I would say that you must consider that you're possibly tearing down the Statue of Liberty.
Thank you. Are there any other folks online who would like to speak in the public hearing? Please raise your hand now. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to pass it back to Brad.
Thank you, Yaron. So I will now call to order the full board meeting of Manhattan Community Board 5. I am Brad Sherburne, the chair. So we will start our full board meeting by hearing from the elected officials that are in attendance and wish to address the board. The elected officials will be followed by any representatives of other electeds who may report to the board for 2 minutes each. The board then enters into its business session, which consists of approval of the minutes. This month, the chair's report, committee reports, and resolutions with a question and comment period, which we will then follow with new business. Lastly, we will then conduct a public session for those who would like to address the board on any item that was not covered during the meeting and that they did not speak to the board about during the public hearing, followed by adjournment. So I will start this evening's meeting calling on elected officials. I don't believe we have any with us, right, Marisa? All right. So now we will move to elected representatives, starting with Lori H. from Councilmember Bottcher's office.
Thank you. Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm very pleased to bring some good news regarding justice for tenants in our district, and a big thank you to the DA's office. For years, our office has worked side by side with rent-regulated tenants in Chelsea. They were subjected to harassment by their landlord. And last week, we were informed that the DA's office has indicted the building owners on felony charges for waging a 5-year campaign of abuse against the tenants at 117 West 26th Street. The indictment lays out pretty shocking conditions: winters without heat, including one outage that lasted for nearly 2 months, collapsed ceiling, persistent leaks and flooding, a broken elevator, which, by the way, is still out, and threatening notices urging tenants to abandon their homes. Again, I want to give a big thank you to DA Bragg and his team for their commitment to protecting tenants. On a lighter note, participatory budgeting kicks off in our office next Tuesday, 10/14. It's Tuesday, 10/14. The introductory meeting will be held from 6 to 7:30 at Vanderbilt University. That's the General Theological Seminary at 440 West 21st Street between 9th and 10th Avenues. At the event, you'll be able to submit your ideas for funding, sign up to be a PB budget delegate, and learn all about the process. As a quick recap, participatory budgeting is the process through which you decide how to spend $1 million of City Council discretionary capital funds on city property projects like schools, parks, libraries, and more. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Yeah, so I'm going to move to a couple representatives in the room. While we do that, is there any way we can get the volume increased for those in the room? That would be great. Thank you, Mike. Ben Lowenstein from Assemblymember Simone's office.
Hi, good to see everybody. My name is Ben. I work for Assemblymember Tony Simone. We have a couple of upcoming events. The first will be a low-cost flu shot clinic that we are hosting with Councilmember Eric Botcher's office. That will be Thursday, November 13th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at our office, 214 West 29th Street, Suite 1401. Also on either the 13th or 14th of December, we haven't locked down a date yet, we will be hosting a pet adoption event in partnership with Pure Paws of Hell's Kitchen and Animal Care Centers of New York City. This will be from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at 506 West 42nd. Last month, community advisory committees rejected proposals for 2 casinos in our district. Assemblymember Simone is glad that the committees voted in line with the community, which has been overwhelmingly opposed to these proposals from the beginning. Thank you to everybody who reached out to the committees and our office to make your voices heard on this issue. Also last month, Assemblymember Simone was arrested alongside colleagues of his in the state legislature at 26 Federal Plaza for attempting to inspect the detention center in the building, which a judge has declared is inhumane. Assemblymember Simone was and will always be proud to stand by his fellow Americans who are being unlawfully detained and deported due to fascist orders from our federal government. He's grateful for the support that he and immigrants have been receiving from our district and encourages everybody to do what they can to fight back. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Julie Rowland from Assemblymember Boris's office. Welcome.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Julie Rowland. I'm from Assemblymember Boris's office, and I started on Monday, so this is the first time I'm addressing you all, but that's one of my announcements is, hi, I'm the new district director. I hope to be here at every meeting. If not, someone else from the office will be, but if I'm here, I'm going to get here early. Please come talk to me. I would love to meet you all and really get to know this community through your eyes. So I'm new, I'm figuring out the lay of the land, but also I'm really eager to get to know you all. So please introduce yourselves to me. Our announcements are that the assembly member and his wife are thrilled to introduce their new baby who was born on August 16th. Baby, mom, everyone's doing well. Baby's name is Charlie. Thank you all who have reached out with well wishes, and he'll make his debut at some point. Other than that, just wanted to give an update on a telemarketing bill. So our office passed bipartisan legislation that nearly doubled the maximum fine for the do not call list violations in 2023. So we compiled a report to check how that's going. And we found that in the decade before the law, only 2 fines ever exceeded $100,000. And since it took place just 2 years ago, already 10 have crossed that line. So what that means is there are real consequences for people who are breaking that do not call list, who are violating that. And so we're actually sending a clear message and enforcing fines for those violations. Other than that, I wanted to let you know there are notary services happening now Monday through Thursday in our office from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's at Lexington and 40th and Lex. So come by, get, notarized, whatever. Do it with us if you want for free. That's all I have right now, but I'm going to double down and say, please get to know me. I would love to get to know you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to move back online, hopefully with more volume this time, to Alex Marinides.
Everyone, can you hear me? Hello?
Hello? Yes, we can. If we could get more volume, that would be great, but we can hear you, Alex.
Okay, great. I'll start. If it's too low volume, just let me know. Good evening, everyone. Senator Krueger has a couple of events coming up that you may be interested in, or family members may be interested in, or friends. So please share with anybody you know who might be interested. So first up, this coming Tuesday, October 14th from 2 to 3:15 p.m., Senator Krueger will be holding the second session of her virtual older adult roundtable series on the impact of federal cuts to Medicare and Medicaid. So if you or someone you know was on Medicare or Medicaid, this is an important roundtable discussion that really illustrates a lot of the challenges that come with these cuts and sort of ways to try and address those challenges as they come forward. So you can watch that. You can RSVP to watch that live, or there will be a recording put online about a week after the event. We are also going to be having an in-person older adult resource fair with tabling from 30 organizations at Lenox Hill Neighborhood House on Tuesday, October 28th from 11:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. If you'd like to RSVP for that, you can do so online with the form that I'll put in the chat and that I've also sent to Marisa, and or you can call our office and register that way. And you can RSVP for a 1 hour block, not for the full 3 hours. We have limited in-person capacity at this location. Moving on, Senator Krueger recently had a press conference with the bipartisan pro-choice legislative caucus, urging Governor Hochul to sign a package of legislation that will help to protect reproductive rights and improve access to reproductive, sexual, and trans health care in New York State. There's 5 bills. I don't have a ton of time, so I'm not going to read the names of all 5 of them, but they are S929, S3486, S3285B, S4914B, and S6441A, and they cover, a range of protections when it comes to healthcare, and our personal rights when it comes to healthcare. So Senator Krueger believes that access to basic reproductive health care is under attack across the country, and for that reason, it's more important than ever for New York to lead by example and to show other states that we can lead in the fight to protect our rights at the more local level. So that's it for me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alex. Okay, next up is Peyton Schultheis from Senator Gonzalez's office.
Hi, good evening. As has already been mentioned, the proposed East Side Casino was voted down by its CAC last month. Senator Gonzalez was very happy to see that the CAC listened to the feedback of the community in voting this proposal down. Next, on Monday of this week, Senator Gonzalez's office held a virtual town hall on the federal budget cuts and how these cuts will affect New Yorkers. If you wish to learn more about this issue but were unable to attend the webinar, you can watch the full recording of the event on YouTube. I'll drop a link in the chat. Next, Senator Gonzalez's office is conducting a district-wide survey to better understand the top priorities and needs of Senate District 59. If you're a constituent, I invite you to fill it out and share it with your neighbors. I'll also drop that link in the chat shortly. Next, we're also planning another town hall on Monday, November 17th at 6 p.m. Senator Gonzalez will be holding her State of the District town hall at CUNY Law School in Long Island City. The event will be hybrid, so you do have the option to attend virtually if you prefer. I'll drop a link for that in the chat as well. And finally, Senator Gonzalez's office will be holding our next Manhattan Mobile Office Hours event at the Kips Bay Library on Tuesday, October 14th from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Please feel free to stop by and discuss any issues you're having. And if you need any assistance but are unable to make it to the event, you can always reach out to our office directly. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up is Franklin Richards from Councilmember Power's office.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I will keep this relatively brief. So 2 quick events that we have coming up. Our office will be hosting a free bike helmet fitting and distribution event in conjunction with the New York City Department of Transportation. The event will be located a little further south in Stuytown on Playground 9th. This will be on October 18th from 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Helmets will only be given to those present while supplies last. Adults over 18 receiving a helmet must sign a waiver, and a parent or a legal guardian must be present to sign a waiver for a child under the age of 18. Second, we have a RAT Academy on October 24th at 10 a.m. It will be virtual. I will send the sign-up link, we haven't created that yet, to Marisa for that to be distributed. And finally, this is already mentioned, but Councilmember Powers joined with his elected officials, colleagues to vote down, the CAC voted down the Freedom Plaza Casino. The council member always said that there was a high threshold for there to be a casino in the area, and the potential benefits did not outweigh the community feedback at the moment. So that's it for me. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our office at 212-818-0580 or email at frichards@council.nyc.gov. Oh, I'm a floating head.
Thank you, Franklin. Okay, next up is Brocker Rosenberg from the Borough President's office.
Hi everyone, Shana Tova Chag Sameach to those of you celebrating the Jewish holidays like me. And again, as I do every year, I apologize for being in and out or any slow response times because of that. But I am also celebrating and going offline during that time. I wanted to flag just a few things coming up that our office is excited about. Our community board leadership training series is back. We do this every year. It's scheduled this year for the week of Monday, October 20th through Friday, October 24th, to provide tools, instructions, and best practices for community board members and also any interested Manhattanites to learn about their local government processes. We have sessions on things like equal employment opportunity, conflicts of interest board, skills to combat implicit bias. This year's series will also include sessions from the Independent Budget Office, archiving and passing on institutional knowledge, emergency readiness with Homeland Security, using topography as a tool, navigating the HPD and DOB portals as tools, and how to access the U.S. Census Bureau's data. You can find that on our website to sign up. There are certain sessions which are specifically the equal employment opportunity, conflicts of interest, and the implicit bias trainings that are mandatory for community board members to complete. So please make sure to do that. And they will also be recorded ultimately and put on YouTube later for those who can't make them live, but we do hope you will join us live. Secondly, the bar president, along with DoSomething.org and Cloth, are partnering up to host a youth street cleanup. So we're welcoming youth from ages 14 to 22 to join us on October 18th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to help ensure communities are clean. This will be uptown at 157th and Broadway. Participants are eligible for scholarship, 10 volunteer hours, and much more. People under 18 need permission from a parent or guardian to participate. Feel free to reach out to me. If you're interested, I can send you the RSVP link. Finally, the bar president and Manhattan High School's superintendent's office and District 75 invite you to a college and career fair on October 25th at Berwick College, 3755 Broadway from 11 to 3. You can meet and connect with representatives from colleges, post-secondary programs, and job training programs to learn more about options for your future. You can learn about financial aid resources, support services for
Please wrap up, Baraka.
disabilities, and post-secondary opportunities. So feel free to reach out again to me or to events@manhattanbp.nyc.gov with any questions or to RSVP. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up is Jasper Diaz from the mayor's office.
Hi, thank you so much. First, I just want to thank you for having me. It's my first time attending the community board meeting. I am the new Manhattan Borough Director for community boards 1 through 6, all Manhattan South, south of 59th Street, with the office of the New York City Mayor, with the Community Affairs Unit. My predecessor, Robin Forst, is now with the First Deputy Mayor's office. I've included my contact information in the chat. And I also sent it to the chair and the district manager. Please call me if you have any issues or need any agency-related issues from HPD, the DEP, whatever it is. I know that my time is very brief. So with that, I just have a few updates. The mayor, DCP director, and city planning commission chair, Dan Garanik, celebrated the city council's approval of the Midtown South mixed-use plan. It's the third DCP-led neighborhood plan approved under the Adams administration, which will create nearly 10,000 new homes across 42 blocks in Midtown South. The mayor also announced a citywide speed limit for e-bikes, which will go into effect on October 24th. That citywide speed limit is 15 miles per hour for electric bikes on city streets. In addition, the mayor also announced progress in supporting individuals with severe mental illness and released the city's first ever involuntary transports dashboard, providing New Yorkers with unprecedented accounting program. And also, the city has connected 3,500, actually more than 3,500 homeless New Yorkers from streets and subways to permanent housing. So those are my updates at the moment. I just want to thank you so much for having me. Again, my contact information is in the chat, my email and my phone number. If there's anything that you need, any assistance with city agencies, could be constituent cases, please feel free to reach out to me. I can't make any promises, but I will do my best to be of service to the community board and to the district. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, are there any others, either in person or online? Okay, So we will now enter into the business session of the board, where, as I mentioned, only board members are allowed to speak. Board members attending virtually, please remember to have your videos on during the meeting. So we are now entering business session, starting with a minute vote to accept the September minutes. May I have a motion and a second? Okay, thank you very much. And as a reminder, we are conducting voting using online Google form sent to you by Milan. Please use this Google form to cast your vote. If you are in person, do not have a device capable of casting this vote, or if you're having issues or need assistance, the board office is available. For members attending virtually, please let us know in the Zoom chat if you're having issues. So Marisa has decided to waive her DM report for the month. So now we will move on to the chair's report. And we have a packed agenda for tonight, so I will be brief. So first, I want to provide a quick update on the Hotel Special Permit Task Force. As some of you will recall, we had initially planned to convene a dedicated task force to review this issue. However, after further consideration and conversation with our electeds, we've decided that the most effective way to handle it will be through our Land Use, Housing, and Zoning Committee. They will take this up directly in an upcoming meeting. I want to thank everyone who expressed interest in serving on the proposed task force and welcome your engagement and input as the conversation continues at committee. Next, for those of you interested in parliamentary training, there's another parliamentary training opportunity through the Civic Engagement Commission. This is a different session than the one we mentioned earlier through the Borough President's Office, and I apologize for the confusion on the link that went out. So these sessions will be focused on committees and effective meetings. I will share a link to poll availability for those who are interested, which I will include to those who previously were interested in the last training and the executive committee. But if you are also interested and aren't one of those groups, please reach out and I will add you to the list. So we will schedule one dedicated session for each training based on the availability from that. So look for an email from me, but let me know if you want to receive it. Finally, I want to note that this month we will be opening nominations for board officer elections for the coming year. Elections will take place at next month's full board meeting. And the chair of our election committee, Kevin, will go into more detail. And so I will conclude the chair's report and turn it over to him. Do you want to just come up to the podium, Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Kevin Frizz. For those of you who don't know, I'm chair of our three-member election committee, along with Zul Zolkowitz and Yoden Thoden, who's not here tonight, unfortunately. This is an unusual year in that we're having two elections. We normally only have one, but this year, because of a package of bylaw changes, we decided to move the annual elections from May to November. So this year, rather than having a longer period in between, we decided to do it twice. So we're doing it twice, if you remember. Tonight is we're going to do two things. Sorry.
Go ahead.
We're going to do two things. We're going to, one, announce the candidates who have nominated themselves or someone else has already nominated them in the early nomination period, which expired 2 weeks ago. And then we're also going to accept new nominations if anyone else wants to nominate themselves or someone else. The existing candidates are for chair, Bradley Sherburne, first vice chair, Yoran Nodi Victor, second vice chair, Catherine Ellington and Samir Lamangia, secretary, Milan Mijatovic, assistant secretary, Kim McCall, and treasurer, Ankur Dalal. Those are the existing candidates, and we'll hold the election for them in November, a month from now, roughly. At this time, we'll also open it up to nominations from the floor. If anyone would like to nominate themselves to run or nominate someone else, we'll accept those nominations at this time. Seeing and hearing none, nominations are officially closed. This is the election slate that we will vote on next month. All the candidates, if they so choose, will give up to a 3-minute speech. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, we will move next to the City Services and Quality of Life Committee. So Tiffany, so also I want to take this opportunity. I want to thank first Mohit for his service as the chair of the BEX and then CSQL committee. We really appreciate it, but he is going to be taking a step back. And Tiffany, our former vice chair, has now graciously agreed to be the chair of that committee. She did a great job in her last and first and difficult meeting. And so we congratulate her and welcome her. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Brad. So hello, good evening. My name is Tiffany Revis, and I am now the new chair for City Services and Quality of Life Committee. We had one resolution this month. May I have it deemed read?
So deemed.
Thank you. So this resolution is regarding the intro bill 967. This bill would wind down horse-drawn cab industry, by prohibiting the issuance of new licensures in the operation of horse-drawn cabs as of June 1st of 2026. The bill would also require humane deposition of carriage horses, prohibiting their sale or transfer for the purposes of slaughtering or use in other horse-drawn cab businesses. And it would also require the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection to administer a workforce development program for drivers and other workers engaged in the horse-drawn cab industry. As we heard tonight, this bill is fairly new. It's in the early stages, so there's definitely some gaps. Since the bill suggested an implementation of June 1st of 2026, we wanted to make sure that as a committee and community board that we address this issue. We spoke on this at 2 meetings ago, but we did not feel that we had any proper information or time to overlook in order to make a comment. So this past meeting, we had a representative from the Central Park Conservancy as well as from the local Union 100 to come speak to us to give us some insight as to why there was a prior support of this bill, of this issue and not one now, as well as those that would be affected by this. And so we had a presentation by each guest. It was very extensive, informative, and a very sensitive conversation. We had a lot of Q&A as well as public comments. The majority of the committee concerns were the lack of language in the bill as to how it would assist those in the workforce industry to transition, as well as what would happen to the horses. We also were informed at the time that there had not been a public hearing as of yet regarding this bill, but it was being enforced to go into effect immediately. So as a committee, it wasn't unanimous, but we did vote to support this at 8400 with the resolution and requirements and restrictions that the Mayor's Office of Talent Workforce Development would publicly present a detailed implementation plan for the workforce development program. The city would also establish a definitive and transparent framework of how to deal with and where the horses would be off-ramped from the business. That the city agency would publish a clear process for confirming the humane disposition of all the affected horses, including the long-term humane care commitment to each of these retired animals. And that the New York City Council and the Manhattan Borough President immediately schedule a public hearing specifically regarding the implementation of this Intro 967, ensuring the ample public notice and a format designed to accurately hear and document input from all the segments of the public concerning the work transitions, as well as the humane deposition of the long-term care of the horses. And again, this did pass at our board at 8400.
Thank you very much, Tiffany. Good job. Any questions? Todd, make sure you have a mic.
Hold it down till it's green, Todd.
So after hearing, I'd just like to know, and I'm
I think, yeah, we lost you.
I'll start.
There's a second one of the tables, or is it just that, yeah, here, you don't have to get outside. I'll bring it to you.
Hello. Can everybody hear me? Hey, so I'd just like to hear from the committee after some of that very emotional and contrasting testimony we got in the public session. What is your best estimate? We heard about the lobbying. What is your best estimate, research and due diligence, and in the feedback you got, on what the wider public sentiment is in our district about what we're voting on. Do you have any information or anything that would make it suggest that our passing judgment work?
Were you able to hear that, Tiffany?
No, it was pretty jumbled, but I think Todd,
Okay.
you asked like what is our public of our district comments regarding this? Is that
Essentially, yeah. What is the public sentiment to the extent that that was part of the decision?
I mean, we obviously got some public feedback that came on to the meeting to discuss. There were a couple people that were for the resolving of the horse cab industry as other cities and countries have over the past recent years. And then we also heard from other workers within the industry from the local Union 100. And, there's lots of different sides to it. And the fact that these haven't necessarily been addressed in a public forum, we were really, like I said when I was speaking, that was the first time we had heard that they weren't really included, but this is an intro law. So it's very early, but it seems to be being implemented pretty fast. But we got a little bit from both sides, and it was a small amount of number. We hope that as many people come to the meeting and speak as freely and as much as they want to on the subject. But we did only get a little bit of feedback within the committee as members and those who live in the district or work in the district. Again, the major concern was what exactly would be the outline of those in the workforce and what exactly would happen to the horses. The question wasn't so much if we should continue this longstanding iconic component of Central Park. It was more of how do we make sure it's done right? And that was my feeling of the feedback from public and the committee members mostly.
Thank you. Kevin. Grab a microphone, please. We are in questions.
Thank you.
Yep. There we go. Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, may I just ask a clarification question to
Absolutely.
Tiffany? Thank you. Tiffany, would it be fair for me to say, because I'm a member of this committee, that all of the people that testified at our hearing or our meeting, rather, were people that had vested interests in the subject matter? They were either from the industry, they were from animal rights organizations. They had some sort of vested interest. There was no testimony heard from everyday residents who live adjacent to the park or in the district. Is that correct or incorrect?
Sure, thank you. To the best of my ability of my knowledge from our meeting, and I did go back on it, but I could be wrong, but yes. Most
Thank
people
you.
that spoke from the public, yes.
Thank you. Todd, that should answer your question.
Thank you. Any other questions? Comments? Mike. I don't know if that one.
Hello. I did mention that I was in Central Park. Comment. I did mention that I was in Central Park Saturday, beautiful day. So while I was there, I took the opportunity to talk to people. I like to talk to people. And there were people there from all over the place. There was people from Brooklyn, and there was people from Burma, I think, some couples in Burma having a picnic right next to it. And it was people from Oklahoma, and there might have been even somebody from New Zealand. And to a person, each one of them, when I asked them, what do you think of those horses going by there? They said, that's cool. That's great. I love it. Which is why I voted 1 to 4 against passing this thing. People love it. And you heard this guy, this lawyer guy, and all of the people with the jobs. Let's just put that aside for a minute. Just for general aesthetics, it's a great thing. We might look, oh, the poor horse died. You're going to die anyway. Horses died. They've been in that park since 1857, when the park was first opened by Volkstead and Ruggs. Help me with those names there. Calvin and those guys.
Fox.
Yeah, and they've been horses in there ever since the beginning. I think it would be a crime to take this away from that lady from Oklahoma. I want to ride on that horse in Central Park in New York. It's a bucket list thing. I would think it's a shame to take that away, and that's why I voted no.
Thank you, Mike. Zool.
Thank you. I love animals. I don't eat them and I don't keep them. I know a lot of people who do. And I ride horses. I know the care that goes into keeping them. And over the years, I've met many carriage drivers and their horses. And I see that they're kept really very, very well. I will vote no on this.
Thank you. Samir.
So this comment is as a nearby resident and frequent user of the park. I live on 55th and Broadway. I run in the park, I walk in the park, I picnic in the park, I bike in the park, and I'm thrilled that we're finally taking on this issue. It is way long overdue that we remove horses from Central Park. It was way long overdue that we remove cars, but we finally did it. And now the time has come to remove the horses as well. I just want to note that the Central Park Conservancy, which runs the park, agrees. They think that it is simply not compatible with the realities of this, and I quote, modern, heavily used shared public space. And we believe it is time to turn the page, as most major cities already have. We should move forward and get rid of the horses in Central Park. So it's better for cyclists, it's better for pedestrians, it's better for picnickers, and better for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Mike? Yeah, okay. Really?
I also voted against this at committee because there's no data for or against. I asked that there be studies done by EDC or the small business services or for the tourism industry that the horse carriage industry is catering to, and how that impacts the city, since tourism is the second biggest industry in the city.
Thank you, Mike. Is that Kevin? Yeah, Kevin.
I echo everything Mike just said. I also voted against this resolution in committee. I understand what the resolution is trying to accomplish, aside from, getting rid of the carriages in the park, in terms of addressing concerns for folks whose livelihood depends upon this. But the language in the resolution, I was concerned that it didn't really address how we're going to hold the mayor's office of talent and workforce development to account to actually make good on any promises to the folks that actually operate the carriages now. It doesn't address the license holders in any way. I don't know how they will be compensated. And philosophically, I don't understand why we would include language that would preclude an owner of a horse to actually move the horse someplace else that they would want to, but rather be so prescriptive as to say, this is the only way you can, quote unquote, dispose of the horse. I am philosophically opposed to that. So for all those reasons that have already been mentioned and many more, I'm voting against this.
Thank you. Any other comments? Alice. Alice and then David.
Hi. I did a little bit of research on this topic, and unfortunately I was only able to tune in for part of the committee meeting because I've been out of commission because of personal issues. And here's what I want to share about this issue. It's it's not a new topic. It's been around for the past decade. This has been rehashed through multiple New York City administrations by multiple entities. And I know that it feels like there's this like big push and this thing that's about to be happening. This is all part of a cycle. And there are articles going back all the way to like 2013, 2014 about all of the same exact talking points, all the way to Bill de Blasio's administration. There's a lot of interesting stuff if you actually do your research and look. The interesting part for me is always, I'm a consultant in my day job, but the interesting part for me is always to like look at the money trail. The tourism industry that likes these carriage rides isn't going anywhere. There are still going to be tourists that are looking for this kind of experience in Central Park. So if the horses go away, what stays? You get the pedicabs with the bikes that are, you know, probably going to be there to stay, but the actual alternative is the e-carriage. And so you have to take a look at who's producing the e-carriage, who's designing the e-carriage, who's going to be profiting and making money off of the e-carriage. And so interestingly enough, New York Class or NY Class or however you pronounce it, invested money into a gentleman named Jason Wenig to produce an e-carriage. And the point is, so far, if you look, this is the only guy really producing these things. In order to replace the demand, yes, this is an 8-seater, so probably can be bigger than the current amount of horse-drawn carriages, so maybe you need less of them, but these things are really expensive. And the current proposal is for New York City to actually buy all of these carriages and like lease it out or rent it out to drivers. And so as you consider this proposal, do your own research. Most of you have laptops out. To look at Google and figure out who actually is going to be making an insane amount of money off of our tax dollars from New York City to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. David.
I believe Rider's Law doesn't allow for e-carriages as well. Like there's actually provisions in there that don't allow for it. So that was one of the things that we discussed in the committee meeting. But look, I helped write this resolution from a person who uses the Central Park. I think that this is actually a 20+ year discussion in the city. There's lots of cities that have banned horse carriages. I don't think that Midtown Manhattan should have horses trotting around with folks in the summertime when it's 100 degrees. It's just not a place for horses. We live in a modern city. This is just an issue this is something that's old, and I'm sympathetic to the job changes. And that's one of the reasons why in this resolution that I helped write, that we do focus and we say that we need more meat in Rider's Law on this issue. So look, I understand this is a difficult conversation, but ultimately at the end of the day, and it's disappointing that the animal rights folks were not here to talk through kind of what they've seen, because they did that in the committee, and there's been horses that have died. There have been horses that have run away. There was a pregnant woman having a baby shower that the horse almost ran into. I mean, horses don't have a place in Central Park. So I'll be voting for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Todd.
Okay, Central Park is New York City's backyard. Everybody has incredibly strong feelings about it. The reason I asked the question I did is, especially in the current times, is the issue of democracy and how the wider public that uses the park, which is basically all of us, how do they feel about this issue? As to the issue of horses no longer belonging in Central Park has allowed horses for many, many years, changing tastes and perceptions of how animals should be treated, or something that we should give certainly consideration to. But I'm reluctant to vote for this in the absence of strong evidence that the general public that uses Central Park is in favor of this. So it's not clear to me with the evidence that's been presented whether or not this is something that our public and the people in our district would support. So absent that evidence, I'm going to vote against this.
Thank you, Todd. Any other comments? Okay. We will move.
Hold on. I have one comment.
Sure, go ahead, David.
There was something that we saw when we were in committee, and I don't recall, maybe somebody else can help me here, but there was a poll that said something like 70 or 71% of New York City actually wants this law in place. So I understand that polls are all over the place.
I remember, I don't remember what the number was, David, but I do remember the
Please direct comments to you, the chair.
I don't remember what the number was, but I believe that the stat was shared by someone from the Central Park Conservancy. So I don't know whether we have records of minutes from that meeting, but it would be in there. I don't think there has been any other poll other than what I heard from this gentleman tonight, which is the first poll that would speak to Todd's issue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Will. Can you pass the mic down, please?
Yeah, so I think there have been a few different polls, and I don't think we're going to get a clear answer on exactly what the public thinks about this. I think there was a poll in the New York Post that said 70% opposed it, and the gentleman earlier referenced another poll that 54% wanted to keep horses in the park. So I don't know that we're going to get an exact answer on that. We're just going to have to. Another thing about the resolution that we put forward is that we want there to be a public hearing and for the council to vote on it. So that's part of what we said. Those of us who said we supported the riders law, we also want there to be a public hearing on it.
Thank you, Will. Any other comments? Okay, we're going to move along, but as normal, you are free to vote as we go or at the end, but just make sure that you're only hitting submit once. Okay, so next we're going to move to transportation. David. Sorry, what, David?
I'm good. I'm doing it.
Those pictures. Oh, I see. Okay.
Someone has to move though.
I think he's got it. Oh, the pointer's back.
Okay. We have three things on the agenda and then a fourth. And the first, thank you to Mandy, Robert, and Kieran for writing the three resolutions that I will be discussing. So if you have any questions, we'll be asking them. So the first thing is Lexington Avenue bus lane upgrade. This was a presentation by DOT. So the existing situation here is that there's a non-dedicated bus lane on the west side of Lexington Avenue. And those buses then shuttle back and forth into the main traffic lanes. And there's frequently interfering parking and loading going on in this area. And there's also been a high incidence of injuries. So the proposal is to have a dedicated offset bus lane. So the curb lane becomes loading and parking under new restrictions. The bus stops are still located in that area, but when they pull off, they pull into a dedicated bus lane, camera enforcement, all of that. Now, this situation already exists from 96th to 60th Street, where it dramatically increased bus times, dramatically reduced injury rates. And then it actually switches back and forth a little bit. South of here, we coordinated on this with community boards 8 and 6 because we overlap with them on the full length of this Lexington Avenue bus lane. And we were all in support, not just of this change, but to look all the way down to 14th Street at where this could be put in place as well. And it does involve, as you see, taking one traffic lane and turning it into a bus lane.
but traffic has declined significantly after the introduction of the congestion pricing. And so the forecast was that it wasn't going to add to delays for passenger cars or taxis.
And David, if you could just describe the slides as you go through, that'd be very helpful.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we're looking at a schematic of the existing situation, the 5 existing lanes and parking that exists today on Lexington from 60th to 52nd Street. And on the right-hand side, we're looking at the proposed where we would have a shared curb, bus stops, parking and loading, a dedicated bus lane, and then 2 traffic lanes and another parking and loading lane. So the vote on this, we had 1 no vote, and that was oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't on this one. This one was you know, no con votes on this one.
Okay. All done?
Yep.
All right, great. Any conflicts? Any questions? Any comments? Okay. Keep
Okay.
going.
Next up is a shared street, 43rd Street. So this is Lexington Avenue, this is Grand Central and the Gray Bar building. And the zone that we're talking about is outlined in red. The only part of this that lies within our district is on the west side of Lexington Avenue. So really most of the game that's being played here actually sits in CB6, who had already voted in favor of this and was more involved in the development of it. But essentially what's going on, there's no real change to the lane layout here, but this zone that you see here would be to bring the crossing, the pedestrian crossing, widen it and bring it to grade so that you're not stepping off the curb and then back onto the curb on the east side of 43rd Street. All of this would be at the same level. And the same is true here at 45th Street, even though the plan doesn't address any other changes there. So here, the change is to widen the sidewalk all the way around the corner here. There are, based on feedback from owners of buildings on both of these blocks, they need some loading zones. The restrictions will be decided later in time. I know there were some concerns about us providing parking, but most of the focus was that these areas provide loading. And then you can see where the sidewalk widens again. And then it also addresses the crossing zone across 3rd Avenue. And then the green, obviously, are trees that are, in this case, planted in pots. All of these dots are barricades. So there's pretty strict separation between any traffic that might be passing through here, which would be really minimal, and all of the pedestrian traffic that will cross here. The origin of this, it was one of the questions that came up. As part of the East Midtown rezoning, there was an environmental impact statement, and one of the areas that was called on to be addressed was the pedestrian crowding in this whole zone exiting from Grand Central. So I think that one was also unanimous.
Yes. Okay. Any conflicts? Any questions? Any comments? Mike, grab a mic, please.
Need a mic. Oh, Isabel has one.
Thank you, Isabel.
Okay, for those of you who aren't familiar with 43rd Street, that's probably one of the least used streets in all of Manhattan. It terminates at the place where the trains are, Grand Central. The only good thing about that block is there's a 99-cent pizza that now raised their price to $1.50 on that block. It's a very unused block, and whatever they decide to do on that block has my blessings, 100%.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Any other comments? Okay. On to the next one.
Okie dokie.
So the origins of this was that we reached out, Marissa reached out to MTA because we were looking for more involvement, particularly in their capital program. And as an example, when they install an elevator, it impacts businesses, it impacts people's commuting patterns. And Community Board really has not been involved a lot with the MTA. So we reached out and said, you know, as these projects come up, please let us know, and we will assist you in getting the word out to the community and coordinating feedback and so on. And so the first thing that came up is a pretty technical one, which is this FM swap. So the top, these are both drawings of the subway system, although they don't align with the new subway diagram. But it shows you the layout and the station locations, both before the swap and after the swap. And what's happening before the swap, which we're all familiar with, is that the F train goes up to 63rd Street through the 63rd Street tunnel and then comes back down to Queens Boulevard, while the M train goes up, crosses at 53rd Street, and then goes up towards the local side, the north side of Queens Boulevard. So you get this congested zone in the middle where there are merges and crosses going on. And so there have been a number of conflicts. There have been delays on trains, although, I mean, the measurement, oh, well, I'll go into what so the change is to swap that's hence the name. So the M train would now go up to 63rd Street and remain on the north side of Queens Boulevard, while the F train would go via 53rd Street and stay on the south side of Queens Boulevard. And so there's no crossing, there's no merging. And so it simplifies, you know, all of the switching activity that's going on at Queens Plaza. You know, quantitatively, I think they said the savings on the average commute would be something like a minute or two. I think the other piece of this, though, is that the complexity of this has led to delays in the system. And so that's eliminated by going to the swap. And this situation, I think, existed while work was going on about a year ago, was it? A summer or two ago. So one of the questions that came up, and why part of the reason there was a no vote by one person in the committee, was that they felt that there needs to be an education campaign so that, you know, not just frequent commuters, but tourists and other people that might be more casual users of this understand, you know, what's changing. There's also a weekend situation where I think they swap back. So that will probably cause some confusion, but that's what the system is for, to separate out who the real New Yorkers are from the non-New Yorkers. And so the committee voted with one dissent in favor of it. And we also thank the MTA for coming to us, although we asked that they come earlier so that we have time to really digest these things and get the word out. Yeah, as I said, that one had one dissent.
Okay, thank you. Any conflicts? Any questions? David? Do we have mics down there? Yeah, thank you, Isabel.
Is this in our community board? Like, is this in our district?
Yeah, because we go up, we pick up what's going on in this part of it.
But it's unchanged in our district, right?
It's unchanged in our district, yeah, I guess, but the MTA came to us and said that they would like us to weigh in on it. What?
Mike, Nancy.
Well, the change is this split is happening differently within our district.
Okay, let's please limit crosstalk. Nancy, do you have a microphone? Okay, great. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Go ahead.
Goes across. We're at 53rd Street. If you get on the F train and the M train, which travels under 6th Avenue, 6th Avenue and 53rd Street is in our district.
Right. Yeah, that's what I said. This part of it is in our district. Where this change is happening is not in our district, but people use stations in our district where this will be affected.
Thank you, David. Any other questions? Comments? Okay, Catherine. Wait, grab a microphone, please. gosh.
I just wanted to comment that this is the underground part of our district, and it really is a great example of how the city's all connected, so it's hard to speak about one part without speaking about the whole. And if you know anything about the F train, I don't know about this being a minute, but during rush hour, this could be plus or minus 15, 20, 10 minutes. But again, it's a great example of how it's very difficult to talk about one part of the system without having a perspective on the whole.
Thank you. Mandy.
Thank you. Just wanted to add quick commentary around the timeline. So the implementation time they're expecting is December of 2025, and it was articulated as a relatively simple signal change, but they are putting in efforts to disseminate the information to the public, and they've expressed desire to be in close coordination with our community board in order to help provide our stakeholders and the public with that knowledge.
Thank you. Any other comments? Todd.
Okay, I got the green light. So I applaud the committee. My sons work in my office during the week, and they live out in Queens, and they're on the M train and the F train. And the issue of educating our subway riders about this coming change is absolutely critical. When I go out to visit them, I can't keep track of the F train and the M train and where they're coming and going. So I think that's the right decision. They've got the caveats in there, and I support this resolution.
Thank you. Any other comments? Julia.
I just want to say I live in Brooklyn, so I take the M every day. And it is one of the slowest trains that I think I've ever been on that goes into the center of Manhattan. So I support this.
Great. Thank you. Any other comments? Oh, Kieran.
And just for what it's worth, they're going to run more M trains.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, let's take this to a vote and move on to the next item. So put on your executive committee hat, David.
Yeah. Okay. So after the last, the September 15th Transportation Committee meeting, we were approached by, Samir and I were approached by the head of the Transportation Committee in CB4, asking whether we would sign on to a letter dealing with the public realm around the Madison Square Garden Penn Station redevelopment discussion. So, as probably everybody knows, there was an announcement that Amtrak is going to be taking over the redevelopment of Penn Station from MTA taking the lead. The direction of that is towards some sort of public-private joint venture, and an RFP was being developed to procure those services, but the RFP focused on what was going on inside the block that contains Penn Station. And so one of the members of CB4 raised in a meeting with Andy Byford, who's the, train daddy, head of the Amtrak effort, was that there had been years of work done by a public realm task force that was working for Empire State Development as part of the general project plan that was done around here. And that work really did a good job of explaining what the improvements were outside of the walls of the station that are required in order to support the operation of the station. And so we signed on to a letter. We made some changes, some cleanup of the language. The bulk of the content of the letter were recommendations that came from the Public Realm Task Force draft report. So there wasn't really a lot of new There was nothing that we would have been discussing in committee in terms of most of the content of the letter. And because of timing, this there's actually an industry day. I think it was today and tomorrow for potential developers to come in and get educated on what Penn Station is and what the scope of the project is. And so we wanted to weigh in time to influence that discussion. So the letter is basically, as I said, it's a summary of all of the improvements that need to take place in the public areas, predominantly, 31st Street and 33rd Street, in order to feed foot traffic. There are comments that are made, a lot of issues that were raised, in this community board about the loading that takes place for Madison Square Garden that clogs up the streets and the frontage on 8th Avenue. And so all of that was part of the Public Realm Task Force, which recommended materials for these areas, that they all become pedestrian areas. It was a very long report. We can make that available. And so we signed on to the letter, and it went to executive committee because we were too late for the committee and we didn't want to miss the window with this developer day thing. And so it went from executive committee to tonight directly.
Great. Thank you. Any conflicts? Julia? Okay. Thank you. Any questions? Any comments? Comment, Mike?
Yeah.
Grab a mic, please.
So just let me take this opportunity quickly to point out what happens when stuff really goes wrong. What I'm looking at the map there, I remember on 7th Avenue walking opposite Madison Square Garden, seeing this beautiful building that has been there for years and years and years. And now it's a big ugly, terrible hole in the ground that used to be the Pennsylvania Hotel. And now we're learning that Vornado, who began this whole schmeichre, is not even involved anymore. But yet they're the ones who took down the hotel. We approved it, the city approved it, and now we got a big hole in the ground that nobody's even addressing at this point.
Thank you, Mike. Any other comments? Okay. So we'll continue along then to the executive committee on behalf of the Landmarks Committee. So while Kevin's coming up here, I'm going to take the opportunity to say, for those new members who are wondering why this is an executive committee on behalf of the Landmarks Committee, that is because the Landmarks Committee was unable to have quorum tonight. So I'd like to take this opportunity to stress for you all that you should be attending your meetings, and it is very important because if we don't get quorum, committees cannot actually officially take action. So go ahead, Kevin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm feeling a little inadequate without slides and a very big pointer. That was impressive. Landmarks had, my name is Kevin Frizz. I'm chair of the Landmark Committee. We had 2 applications this cycle. Thankfully, both of them are fairly straightforward and are both welcome updates and upgrades to 2 landmark buildings, important buildings in our district. Also, I should note a big thank you to our Vice Chair Zona, who I think is here somewhere, who chaired our Landmarks Committee meeting this cycle. Our first application, can I have them deemed read?
So deemed.
Our first application was 385th Avenue. I'm sorry, 395th Avenue. 395th Avenue is also known as the Gorham Building. It sits on the corner of 36th and 5th. It is an 8-story building built in the 1904 Italian palazzo style. This building was landmarked in 1998 because of its commercial history in the district and its unique architectural detail. The owners, because it's only 8 stories, the owners are now seeking to sell their unused air rights. And as part of that sale, the owners are committing to a continuing maintenance program with a portion of the proceeds that they will receive from the sale to reinvest into maintaining the building. The aspects of the maintenance program is what they're asking for from our approval and from Landmarks. Needless to say, the maintenance program is very welcome. They will clean and repair the exterior limestone facade, and they will repair the bronze balconies and copper cornice. There are many more details in the resolution itself, As Brad mentioned, this resolution was voted on in the executive committee and passed 12 in favor, 0 against, and 1 abstention.
Great, thank you. Any conflicts? Any questions? Any comments? Comment, Mike.
Can I talk loud? Will I
Nope,
talk?
not enough for online.
I just wanted to apologize. I did get to the meeting, but I got there just as you were ending. It was the quickest meeting ever of this committee. I want to commend you, but I'm sorry I was unable to make it. My bad.
Thank you, Mike.
I
David.
How about now? Since Mike has decided to move on to more substantive comments, I wanted to point out that there's actually another Gorham building on 18th and Broadway where Fish's Eddy is. That was the previous home of Gorham before they moved to this building. That one was built in 1884 and then was converted to residential lofts soon after that.
Okay, thank you, David.
Nice.
Any other comments? Okay, next one.
Thank you, David, for that historical tidbit. Also known as the Gorham Silver Company for a while. It was silver and other metals in that. And Michael, thank you for your apology. I should apologize as well. I missed the meeting as well, simply because I did not account for the fact that there were holidays and then we shifted to a new schedule. And so there was a confluence of factors that threw us all off. Our apologies for not making quorum, Mr. Chairman. The second application is 125 Park Avenue, also known as the Pershing Square Building. This is a very important building. It is a 25-story office building built in 1923, landmarked in 2016. It's noteworthy because it sits at the corner of 42nd Street and Park Avenue. If you come out of Grand Central Terminal on the 42nd Street side, it's the very first building you see as you come out. So everyone that comes, through Grand Central for the very first time, this is one of the first buildings they see. At the ground floor is a very large TD Bank. So that's the first thing you're going to see. But the focus of this resolution is the main entrance to the building, which is right next to the TD Bank. The current entrance design itself was built in a pseudo-modern architecture. The building owners, to their credit, are proposing a comprehensive redesign of the main entrance, and the redesigned entrance will be designed in the same faith as the original design of the building. The intent is to restore some of the grandeur of the original structure and its architectural detail. This is a terrific project. Again, the details are in the resolution in the packet, and the committee welcomed it wholeheartedly. It was voted on at exec, 12 in favor, 0 against, and 1 abstention.
Good, thank you. Any conflicts? Any questions? Any comments? Go ahead, Mike. Thank you.
Listen, if you've never been in that building, you got to go in that building. It's really cool. In the lobby, there's a big plaque on the wall that says something about a crossway, George Washington, something historic. I just forget. I don't have the greatest memory. But if you check it out, inside that building has a lot of history, and I recommend you check it out.
Thank you, Mike. Any other comments? Okay, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have the Parks, Public Spaces, and Environment Committee. Libby, you're up.
Right. Hi, I'm Libby Hutton. I'm the chair of the Parks, Public Spaces, and Environment Committee. May I have these resolutions deemed bundled? Are we not bundling it? Oh, wait.
No need to bundle. I will deem them read.
Will we deem them? Okay, so I think first up we have our art installations in Union Square Park. These are 2 temporary installations. One is going to be in the Triangle Park that is frequently used for art in that sort of circle area. That is going to be an installation called Recess Reads. It's by Fitzhugh Carroll. It's a red steel sculpture. It's about 8 feet tall. It's designed in the form of an open book, which honors Union Square's literary history and the former Book Row that was along 4th Avenue. It will sit on a 19th century granite millstone in that small triangle park. It'll run through October 20th through May 2026. The installation's done overnight by ArtMax. The artist is going to maintain the piece. There aren't concerns about graffiti because they can remove it based on the physical structure. And one of the interesting things about it is that how the public tends to engage with it. It's been in other places, but people tend to sit inside of it, which is something that space is sort of interactive, which is interesting. Our second piece is Patterned Behavior. This is by Masseri Studio. It's a media arts collective with experience on historic sites. And this is a light and sound installation at the pavilion on the north side of the park. It's about 30 days between January and February of 2026. They're going to come back to us with more information about the specifics, but they wanted to come to us early, specifically because it uses ambient lighting and there is noise involved. And that's part of the interactive nature of this piece of art. It's going to be limited to 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. to avoid disturbing residents because of those elements. And speakers are going to face inwards. Both the light and the sound levels can be adjusted remotely by the artist, which is a safeguard against any issues. And they're going to come back to us in November with more information. But they're a very qualified applicant. And we approved both projects because of the low impact and thoughtfulness of them and the way that they will activate the space for the public. And we voted unanimously 12-0 to approve.
Okay, thank you. Any conflicts? Any questions? Any comments? Okay.
Okay. So the second item is Bryant Park Winter Village, which we wrote a letter that everyone voted on last month regarding information and stuff that we want to see and concerns. We were really, really, really happy with this presentation from Bryant Park about the Winter Village. They really addressed a lot of the ongoing concerns that we've had, not everything from our letter, but they addressed many of them with Winter Village and the crowding that we've seen. Specifically, there's going to be a reduction of the number of shops, and they're eliminating the ones that were previously on 40th Street. That change initially had been made to add them to 40th Street to try to reduce crowding inside of the Winter Village. But there's been ongoing concerns about the crowding along that street. So even if the park is crowded, the idea is you can walk around the park on 40th Street and sort of walk around it and avoid it. The committee had some concerns to make sure that they come and check in and let us know, did that work or not? But the committee was really happy to see that. They also added decking along the south side of the Winter Village and the shops. It's along the 40th Street side. They did that last year on the north part of the park. It goes over the ivy, which is not really alive in winter anyway. And they expect that improves accessibility. It also creates more space. So again, less congestion, easier to get around, better use of the park. Really appreciated that. And we also really appreciate the ADA compliant ramp infrastructure with added accessibility signage throughout the park. And very, very, very near and dear to the committee's heart, they've actually added the exit signs that we had requested that they add to make sure that if there is any disturbance where people need to quickly exit, if you're disoriented or a tourist, all the signs that say how to go to get to different shops, you will be able to also be directed safely to leave. And that was really important to us. So the Winter Village, the time frame is the same as always. It opens the Friday before Halloween, the 24th, and then it runs through March. The skating closes January. The holiday shops close at January, but the skating continues through March. It's an activation to make sure that they're drawing people in. We heard a little bit less about the regular programming that also happens following the closure of the shops. And I also just wanted to note that this didn't make it into the resolution because it wasn't immediately pertinent to this because there aren't any concurrent applications for marketing activations at this time. But they did provide us with something that we'd requested, which was information about how many of those there typically are. And part of why we'd requested that is because we can have feelings about what we feel is happening in our experience of it. But the committee, which I really appreciate, likes to ground that based in fact and based on this is our perception. Can we just check to see if we're right? Because we want to be able to say yes. I also just want to note that the funding for all of the vast majority of the public programming for the rest of the year really does come from the Winter Village. That is the primary driver of fundraising. So yeah, that it was approved unanimously again with a vote of 12-1. And you can see the attached images of the signs and also where they are. And the committee was once again really happy about that. So it's 12-0-0-0.
Thank you. Any conflicts? Any questions? Any comments? Renal.
I'm just going to make a quick comment. I know there were concerns about fire safety within Bryant Park, and there was a fire in the Winter Village last year and on 34th Street. That we still have not received a comprehensive fire safety plan from BPC, and this has been carved. I mean, this resolution very specifically says that that is not, it's outside the scope of this particular resolution and will be addressed directly with the FDNY.
Thank you. Any other comments? Christopher, can we pass a microphone down, please?
Oh yeah. Okay, Christopher here. Hi. I'm on the committee. I was absent because of a teaching obligation. I just wasn't able to go. So my opposition was not heard or registered. I would start by saying I live, study, and work in the district. So I have colleagues and students and classmates and a partner. And I've talked to all of them, and none of them like the Winter Village, much like me. I hate this Winter Village. I think it turns this wonderful park into basically Times Square. So no one that I know who lives in the district wants this, and I don't want it. Also, I've seen the crowding there, not because I've been in there, because I wouldn't dare to go in. But Kinokuniya is a bookstore directly across the street, the second floor. Just go to the second floor and look out at the second floor towards this park, and you will see a sea of slithering humans who can barely move. Like it's just like I've seen it like to the point where it just appears, you know, from a distance quite dangerous, in addition to being off-putting. And so I mean, we heard from from a member of the public about Bryant Park being, you know, misused for cash grabs and not used as an actual park. So I think again, it just encourage people to like me not support the Winter Village.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mike.
Happen to have this sucker right here. You live on 40th Street. The park borders on 40th Street. So I would say 4 times a week I'm in the park or outside on 40th Street walking by and watching that park and all of those people. And right now it's a mess. And we got on that, but they're putting in the rink and it's all messy and everything. But I got to tell you, I love that park. I love that park like a part of my house. I'm there every day. You know, the Winter Village is, yes, crowded. No question, it's crowded as hell. But, you know, I oftentimes walk in through the park and I got to go like that. I don't do it when I'm in a hurry and I deal with it. I think it's great for the city. I think it's great for the tourists who come to the city. You know, I'm into promoting tourism in the city. You know why? And so I'm going to approve our yes to this resolution.
Mike. Any other comments? Andrea.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi. So I live and work in this district, and I pass by Bryant Park pretty much every day. As much as I agree that Bryant Park has been commercialized, and sometimes I do avoid that park and just to avoid a crowd. But I do support Winter Village because I support small businesses, and it's the time of the year that these businesses can make money, and I just want people to make money. Okay.
Thank you.
Makes me happy. Okay, that's it.
All right. Thank you. Nancy.
I'm a small business owner and I also support small business. And this is an opportunity for small business to have a store in Midtown Manhattan where there will be lots of foot traffic. It's a very unusual opportunity for a small business to be in that location at the time of year when everyone is spending money with lots of tourists. So I support this.
Thank you, Nancy. David.
Just want to go on record by saying that those small businesses spend $30,000 to $50,000 for that privilege, and that money then goes straight to Bryant Park Corporation. I'll be voting for this because Bryant Park did actually make some accommodations for us, but in the future, again, Bryant Park really has commercialized this park, and we need to push back on a lot of this commercialization. Thanks.
Thank you, David. Todd.
Can everybody-
Yes.
Okay, so a lot of the comments that we hear at full board about this, I think, are well taken. And the winter, the winter installation and the crowds and the commercialization of the park, these are long-standing issues that we've seen before the Parks Committee, not only in Bryant Park, but in all of the parks, especially where we've had public-private partnerships that are managing them. And I must say that traditionally, the Parks Committee has tried to be energetic and muscular in confronting and advocating for the public. It's not an easy job because they do need the money to keep the parks in place. And I just want to assure everybody, and I commend our Parks Committee for throwing its elbows and not letting them just do what they want, right? So to those people that have their doubts about it, and having served on the Parks Committee for all these years, we are pushing back. But at the same time, for the people that, live right around the corner, I mean, some people like Mike like it, other people don't. But remember, it's for the entire district and in fact, the entire city. And we do our best, and we will continue, or at least I will continue, to try to serve the public interest and not give a free hand to the conservancies. And we haven't.
Thank you, Todd. Any other comments? Okay, next.
Okay. So the next one is a little bit more complicated, which is why the committee really took a little bit longer with it to sort of wrap our hands around it. And so the reason it's more complicated is due to the pre-negotiation nature of this and the timing of how things will go forward. So this is an application from the Parks Department to the FCRC, which is the Franchise and Concession Review Committee, to negotiate and enter into a sole source maintenance agreement with Union Square Partnership, which is the umbrella organization of the bid. There is also a 501c3 that's part of that. And this is to enter into a negotiation for all of the care and maintenance of Union Square. What exactly will be hammered out within that, and who is doing what, and who's responsible for one type of maintenance or one area specifically is what's going to be hammered out. One of the many things that'll be hammered out in this agreement. What's difficult and what sort of guided the broad ranging nature of this and the committee's discussion on it is that we don't have anything really to react to because they can't negotiate with each other through us in a meeting because this is the permission to do the negotiation. The problem is that by the time they come back with a formal agreement, because they want to move forward as quickly as possible, we won't have time to get our thoughts on record, to both give shape to the more broad questions and also to get sort of very specific maintenance requests in. I do want to note that the Parks Department very specifically asked us to and invited us for everything that we wanted to hear, both in a broad way and then really, really specifics and just dialing into it. And part of that has to do with wanting to make sure that even if whatever concerns we had in general couldn't be addressed specifically in this agreement, that is something that they'll be able to address in a different way or are aware of, and everyone's sort of operating from the same place to know how they can maybe meet our needs and be a good partner. And that's helpful across the board. It also helps the Parks Department negotiate to get as much out of this agreement as possible. And it helps Union Square Partnership then negotiate back to get more money to do all of those things that they're requesting. So the first question, because it's before the committee, can we negotiate? Yes, no. The first part of this letter is talking about our concerns generally about whether we think they should be allowed to go forward in this sole source agreement. As you all know, and as you just heard, public-private partnerships are a concern that have created more, I guess, anxiety around sort of the privatization of public space in the last couple months, several months, certainly for the committee. So this letter really reflects that. But we also really, and I personally want to just say, like, very much thank you to Union Square Partnership, who really went out of their way to make sure that we knew that this was coming, that they gave us advance notice of this letter. They got me on a Friday afternoon to make sure that we could get it on our agenda. And the Parks Department was incredibly generous with their time and inviting this sort of broad sweeping comment. So the first part is that despite these concerns that we have regarding the privatization of space, we think that this is generally a good idea because we want more money to go to the park, and because the partnership previously through the nonprofit piece has been, and some of their bid funds have been going to maintain the park, despite the fact as it currently works, and this is the part of confusion, the bid is not responsible legally for doing stuff inside of the park. It's sort of a donut hole. This agreement is going to clarify who's doing what, and it's going to hopefully make it, we all agree, it's very confusing now. This will make it more clear. And generally the committee, I think everybody thinks that more money for parks, and certainly for Union Square Park, will be good. And we'd like the revenue from the park, as we've gone on record previously. Revenue from the park staying in the park is something that we've gone on record for the concessions, for an upcoming restaurant going in year round to the pavilion, and also in our past a comment about the RFP for the holiday market. Whether or not that ratio negotiation, whether it's from those concession agreements or whether it's from like event-based stuff, is all up for negotiation. We don't have specifics. A lot of the stuff that are our concerns will be baked in, and we were told will be baked in, but we put it all down in writing to say, yes, you're doing a great job, sally forth. We agree. And these are things you should consider. Again, it's a letter. It is not a resolution. These are our concerns. Figure it out in some way, address them. Some of these things we aren't even necessarily prescribing who in that partnership agreement should be responsible for fixing it. We just want someone to know we want it fixed. So it's really broad. It's not as prescriptive as we were able to. I do want to make a note that what came up quite a bit, as you've heard, is again the transparency question, and they addressed that specifically because it came up. I think 9 members of the committee spoke to this, and saying this was something that they wanted baked in, mostly just to have a sense of what's going on, so that we can weigh again our feelings against what's actually happening and just have it formalized to ease any friction later. And it's not because we don't know that we're an advisory body and our job is to opine. It's just so we have an actual basis and facts for those opinions, and it's not just based on vibes. And so largely, I'm very happy to speak to specifics if people have questions. But again, these are really broad requests. It's a letter. Nothing is conditional here. These are just things we want them to think about, and we would like some sort of condition and safeguard in general. I would like to make one motion for an amendment to add in, this was circulated prior to the meeting. I would like to add in one bullet point. So it's on line 836 of bullet point 23. So that there's another bullet point to amend it. This can be classified under sort of the bucket of maintenance things. Again, specifically requested, they want here, require offsite storage or relocation elsewhere in the park of the maintenance materials, including any tools, dumpsters, barricades, and miscellaneous materials currently stored year-round in the interior northwest lawn/seating area of the park, occupying and further limiting already limited lawn space and diminishing natural enjoyment for users of the park. And as a note to that, this is something that has come up at many public meetings previously, especially around talks of that first vision plan. And many members of the public have raised this. It's something that Union Square Partnership has previously asked the Parks Department to help them figure out and find a different location for. And so I am moving this because most of the maintenance stuff, we didn't get as into all of the nitty-gritty. We say, do the best and keep it the cleanest and all of that. But the things that we requested were really logistics based that are a little bit larger, that again, may not be able to be included at this point, but it gets it on people's radars to figure out structures and they may be able to come back or address it in a way where if we want this to be world-class park and really come up to the standard of other parks and have the resources for that, it's good to get those sort of bigger logistical things on everyone's radar to be thinking about the structure and those, again, the underpinnings that will go into everything else. But again, these are all just things for them to think about.
Okay. Hold on.
Yes.
Is there a second? Okay. All right. So are there any questions to the amendment? Zool. This is specifically, just to be clear, this is to the amendment, not to the resolution. Okay. So this is just for this amendment. Are there any questions? Any comments? Okay. We're going to take this to a vote. Since amendment, we can do this by a raise of hands. So all those in favor, please raise your hands. All those opposed? Amendment carries. All right. Okay. Okay. So now I believe I have a inkling there may be some additional amendments to this. So I want to make sure that we try and cover those first. So we're debating a kind of final resolution. So if anyone else has amendments, Ron, I'll start with you.
Thank you. So thank you to the committee. This is a tricky matter to grapple with. And I very much support the substance of this resolution. I think all of us as board members, as we approach resolutions, even if they're not 100% where we would like them to say, for the sake of consensus, we go with it and we move on. And that is often what I do. In this case, there's one item in here that I'm going to make a motion to remove for what I think is an important reason. So as Libby said, a lot of this is concerns. A lot of this is sort of broad strokes of what we would like to see. But there is one specific item, and it's contained in the first item of the list of things that we want them to consider. So beginning on line 748, it's about governance of the park. And my motion, my amendment, is to remove the last 4 words of line 750. So the last 4 words and hold voting privileges of that first item. And let me explain why. What this item is asking for is to have public representation on the governing board, fine, and even community board representation, fine. The very strong issue I have with asking for voting privileges for a community board member is that, you know, on principle, I don't know that we should be responsible for governing a park, but more so, one of the core principles of a community boards is that we act as a group of 50. There is no situation I can think of in which a member of a community board is empowered to vote and speak on behalf of the board in a way on something that the board itself has not spoken on as a group of 50. And this creates a system in which there would be a voting, what we're advocating for here is having a voting member of the board sit on a different board and vote on behalf of the board in situations even when it wouldn't be practical for the board to have voted beforehand. And I think that is completely contrary to like what we do here. We're a group of 50. We're not individuals speaking on our behalf. So that is the substance of my motion, my amendment, with all due respect.
All right, the second. So we're going to do questions to this amendment. Okay, Catherine. Great. Yeah.
The way this reads and what we heard seemed to be a little bit misaligned. And so in terms of clarification, this body will have,
Sorry, Catherine, just to interrupt you. Is this a question?
yes.
Okay.
Is this related, the community board representation? The community, it's not community board representation, it's public. Someone would be appointed, not necessarily from this community board.
Can I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so when reviewing the transcript and in the meeting, there were two specific things. They kind of got mushed into one bullet here. But there was a lot of talk around wanting, instead of the types of members of the bid are specifically weighted towards the real estate interests that then pay all the money into that. They have a majority vote on that board by design, is written to the bylaws. This entity under this LDC structure is a new bylaws entity. Bylaws can do whatever they want. There's other places in the city where community board members have a vote and carry more weight. At the meeting, what was discussed was having a majority of like public membership in general having a vote and weighing in some way that carried weight and actually had bite to it, I think was the terminology, direct quote, but I would have to go back because that was also discussed elsewhere. But that there was discussion specifically of a community board member having a vote in some way. This is in no way meant to override anything from the full board position, but if the full board has taken a position on something, hypothetically saying we should not have, this many events anymore, or we don't want that, then, and they've gone on record, then they would be able to vote and weigh in on that regarding number of activations, things that have already had a position. That's what happened at the,
So thank you.
yeah, that was what was discussed at the meeting when reviewing the transcript specifically.
So any further questions to this amendment? Okay. Comments? Murnau? You pass your microphone. Okay.
Let us go out of exec all the time. There has been a significant amount of overlap between Hudson River Park Trust and CB4. There is no reason an elected from CB5 cannot sit on the board of this new conservancy, small C conservancy, because we don't know if that's what they're going to call it.
Yeah. Thank you, Murnau.
But without any, just to finish that thought, without any voting privileges, it is toothless. It's absolutely toothless. We can literally go down the same path as, certain other parks in the district, and we have 3, so I'll let you guess which one, and be in a similar situation.
Yeah. Annie, go ahead.
I'd also say a common theme across committees, generally speaking, is that just by nature of the structure of our meetings, sorry, Chair, and the speed of which some other organizations and pieces of the city are moving, we consistently find that the schedule of our committee meetings, the schedule of our board meetings at large are not always in direct motion and sync with the timeliness that we would like to be seen, heard, and active within decisions. It seems to me that there are also bids where we have members of our committee serving, certainly not in the same way, but I think those are members that are representing this group at large. And I would imagine that making way for these types of abilities for members of this committee to service as we don't ourselves, but rather the community, and then as a member of this group, that's why I would not support the amendment to remove this line, but to put us in a greater posture with the parks, with other organizations.
Sure.
Can I also,
Go ahead.
one comment
ahead.
on the
You're
timing?
Sorry, I don't want to make one clarification, just so I'm clear. The amendment is not to remove community board members or members of the public from serving on the board. It's specifically about the voting, which is why it's limited to those last few words. I just want to make that clear, just in case people were.
Thank you. Todd.
Can I speak to the timing that was just addressed?
Okay, go ahead, Libby, and then I'll go to Todd.
As far as timing goes and concerns about that, typically, like larger entity boards will have annual meetings semi-annually. So it'll be every 6 months, which would give, if there is something coming up that has been brewing, some sort of weight. And if something over time has been, it would allow the board to take a position on something too, to make sure that if we have a stated position, that then there would be a vote. That was sort of the feeling of the weight that's been discussed.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Todd.
Yes, so my comment about this, I agree with Yaron. The structure and history of community boards is for the most part to give advisory opinions and comment on the actions and impact of these public-private partnerships or other groups on the district. So by giving them a vote, it's inconsistent really with the larger mission and tradition of community boards as laid out in the city charter. As to the comment that we're toothless, there is something to that, but having served as on many of the community, as a liaison to many of these public-private partnerships, it's not true that we're toothless. Often what happens in discussions at these board meetings where we do have a seat but not a vote, we have a chance to express our opinion, and where the timing and sequence of the subject matter makes sense, usually the liaison can go back to his committee or to the board and make clear our position. And I do believe it does have some impact. So I would support the change, voting privileges and the actual operational aspects that Yaron mentions. He's absolutely on point. If you're in a boardroom and they're going back and forth with their own votes, how do you know that the one person there is going to be acting in concert with all of us?
Thank you, Todd. Ankur.
I agree with the amendment and Yaron's rationale. If you go to newyorkcity.gov and look up what a community board is supposed to do and what they are required to do under our city charter, our mandate is to cooperate with, consult, assist, and advise elected government officials about any matter that relates to the welfare of our community district. That is achieved by having community board representation on the board, which Yaron proposes to retain. But what we are not allowed to do is have any action or decision by a single person's vote. In fact, actions and decisions can only be authorized by a majority of the members present and entitled to vote during the presence of a quorum. This is another way to say Yaron's excellent point about how we are a board of 50 and we have to take votes as a group. When you put one person and give them voting rights over another organization, I'm concerned that you've run afoul of certainly the spirit of what the city charter requires, and perhaps even the actual requirements in our city charter. I think this is a wise amendment. Thank you.
Kevin.
Thank you. Respect Yaron and Ankur's comments. In this case, I'm going to disagree with the amendment. I think that, I understand the point, but I worry that the, perfect is the enemy of the good in this situation. Clearly having a vote on this committee as being advocates on behalf of the community, especially given all the concerns that we have around other private-public partnerships in the park, I think asking for more is in our best interest here and in the best interest of the people that we represent in the community. So I would be in favor of at least asking for a voting board seat. So I'm against the amendment.
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. Christopher, is that your hand up? Okay.
What luck. 2 times. I don't have to turn the mic on. Whatchamacallit? I will not support the amendment. I do agree that allowing someone to vote. This is really odd because it's you have to think about what is happening. So we're writing a letter to advise some conservancy to let to what their composition of their board should be, and obviously we want more public input and less input from people who have undue influence or are going to steer the park in a certain direction. So this giving voting power to a community board representative member like that would only increase public opinions and power on this particular conservancy. And I mean the hand-wringing about we all have to agree about what one person might say on any given board is kind of odd because I could be on any number of boards and people could say, oh, look, Christopher, yeah, he's a good guy. He's on CB5, so I want him to be on my board. I'm not representing CB5 there. And I don't think that this is worded in such a way that the person who's giving this one extra vote on a board absolutely represents everything that CB5 is doing. I don't think that's the nature of this. Like, I don't think this is an expanding of the power or the franchise of one member of the community board at the expense of anyone. I think that if we encourage them to like let the community board representative who goes there, just using community board membership as like a filter to say, hey, someone who's on a community board should be on this and like should have voting power. I don't think it's a problem. Like, I don't see why we have to worry that much about that. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, Christopher. I see your hand, Murnau. I'm just trying to go to everyone for one time first. Any other people who haven't spoken yet? Go ahead, Murnau.
I just want to very quickly cite an example here. We do get an ex officio seat on the board of one of the conservancies corporations, which is not a corporation. And it obviously it's a non-voting seat. And for a long time, they weren't even sending us the meeting invites. We did not even know meetings were going to be held, and no invitations were forwarded to us. And of course, now if the member has voting power, they will seek us out. They will make sure that it's on our calendar. Just an example.
Thank you. Any other comments? John, go ahead.
Just I guess an informational data point. CB5 already has a board observer membership of one of Union Square Partnerships, not the bid, the other organization, along with, I think, 3 other community boards who also have observers. So I think that does provide kind of we're already involved in some governance at that level. I think that does kind of, if there is a new entity that's getting formed to manage the park, I would agree that Community Board 5 should be represented on that board in some way. I think to the points earlier, with how the community board meets and how we're doing, I don't think it makes sense to have the same voting privileges as long as other members of the public do have voting privileges, or potentially if a Parks Department official or some other government representative also has voting privileges, but that's, not under consideration under the current amendment.
Thank you, John. Mike, did you want to speak? Do you have a microphone for Mike?
Okay, here we go. Before we have a vote on this, would it be possible to succinctly state exactly what we're going to be voting for?
So on line 750, it would be the removal of the last 4 words that says "and hold voting privileges."
In context, make it a little easier.
Sure. So then the whole section number 1 would read, DPR should ensure that the newly proposed park governance board with the LDC includes substantial public representation with additional public voting members and community board representation on the board of that entity.
So we're voting on whether the person who's on the board has voting rights on that board.
Correct.
Yes means we want them, no means we don't.
Yes means that you would like to not, it's not quite that clear. It means you would like to not include in this letter a request for CB5 to have voting privileges on this newly formed entity.
Yes means we would not.
Yes means you would not like to request that.
Get request, not they can say, we don't care. Our lawyers say no.
Yeah.
This
that
is
is the
stupid.
framework for everything.
This is say in some other way.
Yeah, that is the framework for everything in this letter, that it is a request as part of their initial negotiations. Okay. Any other comments? John, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess in full disclosure, first, I'm the non-voting member of Union Square Partnership representing CB5 at this point. Just listening to everyone here, it seems to me that I'm going to not be in favor of the amendment. The way I read this, it's simply saying that we are defining the pool from which a member of the board should be chosen. I don't read this as saying that the member has to represent Community Board 5, which is, I think, a key distinction, right? Because you could have someone on the board, quite frankly, who might have a view that does not represent the majority of CV5, and I'm fine with that. We just want to make sure that this person represents a different set of interests from others who are on the board. So I'm going to be against the amendment and think it's really in the public interest to have a member on the board that represents groups other than co-ops, real estate interest, and local businesses.
Yeah, thank you, John. Any other comments? Oh, you're on.
I just based on that comment, I just want to make one clarification. The language in the resolution that advocates for public voting members is still there. Not advocating that we remove that language, and we can have ample public voting members. It's specific to the community board representative.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. All right, we're going to take this to a vote. So all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Okay, the amendment fails. Okay. Any other amendments to this resolution before we debate it? Athena. We have a microphone for her.
Thank you. There are two main considerations I have as it relates to the pending negotiation. One is on the condition of the Union Square Park, and the other is around the private stewardship of public funds and public land, which is the park. So I'll start on point one, which is the quality currently of the park. And as someone who lives on 19th Street, I would say there is unachieved potential that requires funding to improve the quality of the park today. So I am in favor of this letter and the sentiment of the letter. On the private stewardship of public funds and the public park, I think we are a little short. I think in Myrna's words, like, we're not holding them as accountable as we can to make sure that the vendor that we select as the private partner is going to be competent and responsible with the funds that they receive from the negotiation. So I would propose an amendment right before item 5, which is line 764, but you could put it anywhere on the list, that reads, the execution of the maintenance concession agreement shall be held accountable to certain performance and quality indicators. Failure to meet the indicator goals triggers an increase in the city share for the following year. Such indicators shall include and not be limited to environmental, hygienic, safety, access, foot traffic usage, park and lawn operating hours that are open to the public versus commercial events or marketing activations. These operating results shall be reported to the public on a quarterly basis.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay. Any questions to the amendment? Zona?
I think it's a very thoughtful amendment. I have a question maybe for Libby. When we talk about city share, does that in practice go back to like a general fund, or would there be a mechanism for that to go back to the park specifically here?
For the proposed amendment?
Yeah.
I don't have the proposed amendment in front of me, but I believe that our esteemed colleague who is requesting it can clarify that. But my understanding in general, as it exists right now, if there are concession agreements in in any park, unless it is otherwise stated, it goes into the general fund of all things. It does not stay with the Parks Department. It goes to fund other parts of the budget or whatever part of the budget. It could go to parks, and there's a case to be made that money is fungible and parks receives more money than it makes, but money is fungible. So it wouldn't stay with any park specifically, and it wouldn't even necessarily stay in Manhattan. It just goes back into the general pot. That's just the definition of like city share.
Any other, does that answer your question, Zona? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Renal.
Is the purpose of the amendment for it to be a deterrent for the new stewards of the park to do the right thing, so to speak?
I think the idea is when you look at the Bryant Park license and the Madison Square Park license, these are at the, I guess, at the issuance of the license, immediately a 10-year term, which in my mind is too early of a point to give out any bargaining power or governance to the partner that's chosen. So I think having some kind of performance governor in the agreement from the get-go would encourage the private partner to participate actively with the best well that they are being monitored, and what you monitor is what you manage. So that's the intention.
Thank you. Other questions? Oh, Gail.
Sorry, sitting over here because I got here late. Also think, very good intentions with the amendment, but some of the things sound a little qualitative, I guess, which can make it a little difficult to measure. So how do you propose we measure those asks? And are you proposing that those would be included now, or is that something that would be a follow-up later for the park?
I think some of it, and the reason I proposed to insert it before item 5 is because some of the rest of the 22 items go into the specifics about some of these indicators. I think at this point it's premature to give quantitative measures because they have not started the negotiation. So for example, what percentage of the concessions would go to the private partnership, we don't know yet. So at this stage, I think we're just setting guardrails and placeholders in terms of the dimensions we want to see in the KPI, if you will.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Comments? Okay. Seeing none, let's take this to a vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Amendment passes. Okay. I think those are all the ones I know about. So are there any other amendments proposed? Catherine?
So I would like to propose to add stronger language to number 12, which is on line 795. And this relates to safeguarding Union Square Park. When we met with the Parks Department, they get it. They seem to be very clear about safeguarding, but I'd like the language to read as follows: safeguard Union Square's function to continue to be permittable space for public gathering used for protest and expression of First Amendment rights. And it is important to note that anybody can apply for a permit. And that needs to remain in the character of this park. This is parkland. This is public parkland that has, the city's going to be 250 years old. This is, so I just wanted it to be the strongest, to strengthen the language that it be permittable space, which is the language that Parks uses as well.
So number 12 here would read, safeguard Union Square's function to continue to be permittable space for public gathering used for protest and expression of First Amendment rights. Is that correct? Okay, great. Thank you. Any questions?
Are there any parks that are currently, to your knowledge, currently run by conservancies or have a public-private partnership that do not allow permits?
So
Use the microphone, please.
I don't want to speak for parks. I think you would have to ask them that question. But you would have to look at the record. You can look at the record of protest and where it's happening and not happening and see which parks. But this specifically came up in our meeting. And that's why I think it's important to remain in that context, because as it moves through private process, it's very easy for private sector to get uncomfortable. So that's the reason.
Got it. Thank you. Questions, Will?
It's actually an answer to your honest question.
Okay, I'm going to try and keep this moving
I'll do it very quickly.
Okay.
So what's required is a sound permit for protests, and that is a police permit. So it's not coming through the parks. And it's very important, as I think Catherine is pointing out, other than Foley Square and Times Square, Union Square is the primary spot for protests in the city.
Thank you. Questions? Any other questions? Comments? Okay, seeing none, let's take this to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Amendment passes. All right, any other amendments? And I'd like to take this opportunity to remind you all that while you are more than welcome to make amendments from the floor, we do strongly encourage that those get circulated in advance. I know that some things come up and it occurs in the meeting, but generally we'd like to have those come in advance, or even better, as part of the committee discussion, just to limit sort of the mechanisms that we just went through at full board. So I will reiterate that. But okay, so now we're going to go to questions to the full amended resolution. Zool.
So I think Athena's amendment that we just passed allays some of the concerns that I have. But Libby, if you could just help me with this a little bit. When we're talking about the sole source management agreement, are we speaking only of the current partners? Are we talking about potentially new partners who may be private vendors? And if that's the case, will there be a solicitation for bids?
Okay, so this it gets confusing because the partnership is an umbrella organization. Currently, the bid is one entity of that, and there is this nonprofit entity also. They've been jointly run for as long as they've existed up to now. But as part of this organization will be built up and built out. This is seeking special permission for the Parks Department to enter into a sole source agreement and not go to an RFP. So they become a licensee. If this is granted, that they will negotiate so that the nonprofit entity that will then be built up with their own bylaws and everything else that is still to be determined, will then be the licensee in charge of all of this maintenance, again, to be determined as they negotiate. Other concessions that are negotiated with the city, such as the holiday market, for example, that money currently and that licensee is a current contract with the city. That currently goes there. That contract could be amended so that money then flows to the licensee of Union Square Partnership. The reason why the Parks Department wanted to go with Union Square Partnership as this sole source and not put it out for bids competitively for any organization to come in or a different entity is due to that really long-standing relationship that they have with the umbrella organization. The bid, my understanding is the bid is actually the first one technically in New York City. It was founded in 1984. Technically, the LDC, the nonprofit, predates that and also flowed out of a group called the Suite 14. We can talk about it offline. But that long history of stewardship and everything that they've been contributing for a very long time on a purely voluntary basis, this would just allow for more funding for that to then happen. And a lot of this, as far as the concession stuff or something, like all of that does go through a city process. We didn't get into that. We focused on some stuff that is also covered by city process, frankly, and this is kind of redundant to ask, but we're just saying, yes, this is important because they wanted us to tell them all the stuff that's important. So as far as the negotiation of who does what, I hope that answers your question.
Any other questions? Comments? Ankur.
Appreciate all the hard work that went into this letter and appreciate that the list of, I suppose, 23 items are really just meant to be for consideration. I can't support this resolution or this letter because I think a lot of what we ask them to consider contravenes both the purpose of a community board and in some cases may even contravene the legal framework that governs community boards. We are not government regulators. We are not the Parks Department. We are really designed to help facilitate conversations between the public and our elected officials and government agencies. And I think there's a lot of things in here that sort of step beyond that framework. I strongly agree with the concern about giving a single community board representative, it says it's a representative of a community board, voting privileges without having the votes go to the entire community board. I also think it's inappropriate for us to dictate how revenues that are retained by a licensee shall be used. We're not a government agency or a legislature that can decide how funds are used or not used. I also think it's inappropriate to ask for new kinds of reporting and data. Some things here just ask for notice. That's completely fine. That's completely appropriate. But asking for certain types of reports to be prepared, I don't think that's really our job. We are not a regulator. We're not DPR, and we shouldn't try to impose new regulations on an organization like this. So that's why I'm voting against it. Thank you.
Were we in questions? And can I speak to that?
Any other comments? Mernal.
So I was the sole no vote on this letter, and I just want to explain why I voted that way. So the premise of why this agreement is being negotiated or will be negotiated is because Union Square Partnership came to us and they said, listen, our bid and the map of the bid, I'm looking at it right now, it's both sides of 14th Street from 6th Avenue all the way to 1st Avenue. And then it goes all around Union Square Park. They said, listen, our bid does not include Union Square Park. We do stuff within the park. We don't get compensated for it. Not entirely true, but they said we do not get compensated for it. So the whole purpose of us negotiating this contract is to get paid for what we do inside the park, right? Fair enough. Now, there was no permanent business within the park up until, I think, 2014 when the restaurant opened. So sure, I mean, they govern a business district. There were no businesses, so it was technically not part of their mandate. However, you look at their website, you literally only see pictures of the park. There's nothing else on there, right? I mean, you're raising revenue from businesses that are surrounding the park. And if you do not maintain the park, would that be okay with the businesses? No. We asked them, what are you planning to do differently once you do get this contract? They said, well, we'll be doing the same thing we're doing right now. We just want to get paid for it. So that was basically, the premise of why they were coming to us, which kind of did not, sit with me right. Just to give people a little bit of context, right? There are basically three big parks. I mean, there is that 34th Street triangle, but there's three big parks in the district, right? One of them is a conservancy agreement that was negotiated in the 80s. Libby, correct me if I'm wrong, or the 90s. Then there's Madison Square Park. And now this is going to be the third one, which will enter into a public-private partnership. One of them, they've made it amply clear to us that factoring in any sort of community input into the park is a hassle. So, we like to jokingly refer to it as the Times Square Park, but honestly, the Times Square bid is probably more open to public input than this park is. The second park is increasingly, we notice, taking cues from the first park, thinking, well, if they don't have to listen to the community, why do we have to listen to the community? Now, this is the third park, which will be entering into this agreement. So I don't want to speculate with how this is going to go down, but I think we kind of have a blueprint on how this has gone down in the past. This is really prime real estate. this is about as prime of real estate in the city as it gets. You know, Bryant Park, Madison Square Park, Union Square. This is prime real estate. Nobody's doing us any favor coming in saying we want to maintain this for you and then host events and then turn this into the Jacob Javits Center. Right? And then you have to walk through an activation to just go inside the park. It's
All right,
like,
please wrap up your comments, Mrinal.
it literally is like walking through an airport, you know, duty-free shop to exit the park. So I mean, nobody is doing us any favors. Having said that, though, you know, the way this letter's shaped itself, we did put a lot of guardrails in the letter, and the letter's done a good job with the guardrails. So I will be voting yes on this. Some of the guardrails Libby asked me to talk about that I think are very convincing, one of which is executive compensation. You put guardrails around the money that you're raising within the park and make sure that that does not go to executives that sit on the overall, it's likely going to be the same executives for the bid as for the conservancy, small C conservancy. We also talked about limiting the term of the contract. So it's not a 25-year contract where once, you know, as Libby would say, the toothpaste out of the bottle, and that's that. So we do talk about how when the renewal period comes through, you look at how they performed and have they factored in community input. Is it being overly commercialized? And all of that goes into the decision of renewing the contract. And then thirdly, we are talking about transparency and sharing of data regarding park usage, because we do not honestly want to speculate what is happening. We want to look at the data and make up our mind for ourselves. We don't want to be saying, oh, I like going through Winter Village, or it's not too crowded, or I don't like going through Winter Village because it's too crowded. We want to be able to decide based on data, which we're right now really, really struggling to get from some of these parks. So that was the reason why that is there. And the reason why I'm voting yes is because if I vote no, then I believe that it basically takes away any sort of tooth that this letter has. If a majority of the members vote no on this, then there is no input that's going into the Parks Department when they go into this negotiation. Also, finally, the Parks Department, when I asked them what they wanted to achieve from the final negotiation, basically came up empty-handed, which was very disappointing.
Can I speak to that last part?
Very briefly, please.
Very, very briefly. They many times because they couldn't negotiate. So I think Bernal's getting at the fact that this is broad for that. But again, this is for the first part. So I would really just emphasize to people, if you think more money from the concessions that are currently in the park, including the restaurant, and maybe some of the other ongoing concession fees and potentially some events would be a benefit and should stay with Union Square to then go for maintenance. That is the first part of this. And that is the decision that is currently before them. The rest of the stuff that we will see it again. But that is really sort of the primary thing to be thinking about here is, do you think more money for Union Square Park and Union Square Park's maintenance is a good idea from this entity that has been involved in the community there and involved as a steward for this time?
Thanks. Todd.
So I just want to say that in my experience, what's in this letter is for the most part consistent with the role and the kind of things that we've tried to do, advisory and representing the interests of the people in our district with regard to the other public-private partnerships. So I completely agree with what was just said by our colleague here. The issue of the metrics and being able to speak not anecdotally, but with regard to data, right? Being able to give advice and represent what we think is in the best interest of our constituents. We have to let them know that that's an important factor. I'll give you another example. Those of you who are on the committee know that, my pet peeve has been the use of digital imagery. That's in there also. So if you look at all of these things, this is, I hate to use this terminology, but I will. It's a shot across the bow of the Parks Department and also the Conservancy that we are going to exercise our advisory role in all these ways. And now is the time to do it. And it is completely consistent with some minor things. You know, the comment that Yaron made, I think, makes some sense, but I think we should support this.
Okay. Thank you, Todd. Any other comments? John. Can we get a microphone down to John, please? I don't think your microphone's on, John.
Okay, I will be voting in support of this resolution. I think at its core, when we look at these 22 or so asks, that we're really saying, based on our experience on the committee and our interactions with not only Union Square Park, but the other parks and their conservancies, that we need more transparency as a prerequisite to providing community input and advice. I mean, the two are tied together. A lot of times I feel like we're operating in the blind. We're sort of going down a foggy highway and making decisions without understanding the complete picture. I'd also like to say that it's been my experience. I've been involved with Union Square Partnership in various ways. I live in the neighborhood for many, many years. I recall Union Square Park when, trust me, you wouldn't even have considered walking near it, much less through it. It's been my experience that Union Square Partnership is a best-in-class organization. And I believe that Union Square Park is a good park, but has the potential to be a best-in-class park. Therefore, I'm supporting this reso fundamentally because I believe that Union Square Partnership, oops, sorry. That means we're pretty late. Okay. I believe that that Union Square Partnership, being a best-in-class organization, will go a long ways toward making Union Square Park a best-in-class park. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Any other comments? Okay. Take this to a vote. So do that online as you will. We're going to move into.
Can I just make one it's literally 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Update. Some of you will remember that Madison Square Park, they did an activation on the US Open and there were ping pong tables involved. And as part of that, they said that they were going to donate them. I just wanted to give everybody an update. They did in fact donate them to the Parks Department and that has been done. So great. Yay. We love things for parks.
Hooray. Okay. On to land use. Nancy.
Good evening. I'm Nancy Gosho. I'm Chair of Land Use, Housing and Zoning Committee. We have 3 resolutions this month. I will present 2 of them and Yaron will present the 3rd. So the first one is an application for 3 open air cafes in a POPs, privately owned public space, that's what a POP is, in a through block galleria in the building 1325 6th Avenue between 53rd and 54th Streets. This galleria is part of 6.5 Avenue. I'm sure you all know what that is, right? So I'd like to first of all have the resolutions deemed read.
So deemed.
Okay. So we had a twist with this applicant. Yesterday, the applicant notified the board office that the applicant will not agree to have signage in the open air cafe stating bathrooms open to the public, no purchase necessary. So now the resolution does not reflect what we voted on at this committee meeting. So I am proposing an amendment to the
Sorry.
resolution.
Do you want to just take us through the resolution first, and then we'll do the amendment at the end, just so people know what you're amending?
I think I just said what it was.
All the way through? Okay. All right. I just want to make sure that you.
It's clear what we're talking about. It's a very simple, straightforward resolution where everything that they are doing, they are complying with the requirements for an open air cafe in a privately owned public space, except for access to public bathrooms. Okay.
All right. And the original resolution was an approval.
It was an approval because they had agreed to post this signage that the bathrooms were available to the public
Thank you.
without buying anything.
Yeah, go ahead.
Making a point of order, I think it's improper under Robert's rules, section 1222, under the 12th edition, if that's what you have, to have an amendment to a resolution that merely makes the question equivalent to the rejection of the original motion. In other words, you can't have an amendment that just makes your resolution the opposite of what it says. So if you have a resolution to approve something, you can't by amendment make it a resolution to deny it. We've also gone over this before as a full board.
So I'm gonna let Nancy make the motion first, and then we can debate whether or not it's a proper amendment. So go ahead, Nancy.
What am I doing?
You are proposing your amendment.
Okay, so I am proposing that where the original lines 905 and 906 state, whereas the applicant has also agreed to have signage in the open air cafe stating bathrooms open to the public, no purchase necessary, and change that to this. Whereas the applicant has not agreed to have signage in the open air cafe stating bathrooms open to the public, no purchase necessary. And then there are three changes to amendments to the three resolved. Read those also,
please.
Okay. Resolved, Community Board 5 recommends denial of the application for an amendment to section 81-231B of the zoning resolution of the City of New York to allow open air cafes within the existing public through block Galleria unless meaningful bathroom access is provided and clearly communicated to the public. And be it further resolved, Community Board 5 recommends the denial of a third application to the original certification dated October 5th, 1987, approved under ULURP. Everyone knows what ULURP is, Uniform Land Use Review Process. Number N880194 ZCM, unless meaningful bathroom access is provided and clearly communicated to the public. And be it further resolved, Community Board 5 also recommends the denial of the application for a chair certification under ZR Section 81-231B and 37-73 to legalize 3 open-air cafes located on the ground floor of the building, 325 Avenue of the Americas, unless meaningful bathroom access is provided and clearly communicated to the public. And these resolves occur on, the first resolve starts on 921 and then goes to line 23. Then the next one starts on line 925 and ends at 927. Then the third one is on 929 and ends on 931.
Okay, thank you. All right, so to Ankur's point, so we did have a discussion about this during the City of Yes. Those of you who were around for that time will remember that part of that was an amendment proposed to change one of the change the final resolution from, I believe, an approval with conditions to denial unless. At the time, I ruled that that was a proper amendment, but was overruled by the board. At this time, I still believe that that is correct, and I'm going to go further by saying that by modifying the actual substance of the resolution beyond just the resolved, to me, that makes the meaning of the resolution change beyond just a flip because of that additional information that we received since. Okay, so The decision of the chair has been appealed, and so let's see the exact language I'm supposed to use. Shall the decision of the chair stand? And so what that means is that we're going to take a vote. And if you vote in the affirmative, correct me if I'm wrong, if you vote in the affirmative, the chair?
The chair of the House.
Correct. If you vote in the affirmative, the amendment is upheld. The chair's decision carries. If you vote in the negative, the chair's decision is overruled, and the amendment is therefore rendered not appropriate and therefore not considered by the board. Is that clear? Okay. Are there any questions? Zool, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I happen to agree with the change that Nancy wants to make because I think we really do need to come forward and deny. However, I think Anchor's reading Roberts correctly. So I don't know how we should proceed with this. If we go,
Yeah, go ahead, Christopher.
Is this debatable? This is not the case.
It is debatable.
it is debatable. The question is a procedural one, right? So how do we go back and observe proper procedure? Because I think Anchor's correct in that. But I do want to vote for this resolution.
Sure. So there is an alternate way that we can take, which is we could table this resolution and offer a new resolution that is basically the result of this amendment. Any other questions to this process? Mernal? Specifically to the ruling of the chair.
Well, I mean, to your point of tabling this resolution, rewording it, how does that fit into the timeline?
We can do that all at this meeting tonight.
We must do it at this meeting tonight. Otherwise, we have no opinion. We don't have a
So we
choice.
cannot table it in that
Get your
sense.
sleeping bag out.
If you want to let it to go out. Okay, thank you.
We could table, so if this doesn't go the way we want it, somebody, or either way, somebody could table this vote to table this resolution. We would decide whether or not we want to do that. And then somebody could offer a version of this resolution as a motion with the language amended sort of already.
Understood. Thanks.
Kevin. Is this questions to the appeal? No, it would not be now. It's after we conclude this process. Okay. So now, unless there are any other questions, so those voting yes to comments, yes. Samir, go ahead.
All right. I am also interested in Nancy's amendment. However, I would like to do this the proper way. So if I may make a suggestion, I would suggest that Encore recalls his appeal so we can just move faster. 2, I would suggest that Nancy recalls her amendment, and the second, whoever seconded it, recalls it. 3, that we immediately table the resolution. 4, we then immediately reintroduce a new resolution with the exact same language as the original resolution with Nancy's amendments. That is going to give us the exact same outcome, but in a procedurally proper way. And if we do the, recalling, then we don't have to vote on the appeal and blah, blah, blah. We can move a lot faster. It'll literally take maybe a minute or 2.
Happy with that. Okay. Nancy?
Yes.
Okay, and then who was Nancy's second?
One minor. I have one
minor suggestion.
Go ahead,
That
Robert.
suggestion. And I'm sorry, I don't want to overly complicate this, but I think it might actually be more straightforward. I would suggest that we break this down into 2 pieces. The first part of Nancy's amendment dealing with the change of the language of the whereas clauses, and then see if I think it would, this is my suggestion, would be to debate that resolution because it may still pass, that the board supports the existing resolutions despite what happened with the change in position. So, and if it turns out that that debate will inform what comes after that in terms of, do you understand what I'm saying?
So I do, however, if we do that, then we are unable to amend that newly introduced resolution to say the opposite if we're sort of being consistent with some of the comments made earlier.
What I'm saying, it could be then it could be tabled after.
Then you'd
the
have to
debate.
table that second resolution again and do a
Sure,
third.
withdraw my suggestion. Just trying to be helpful.
Okay, so. All right. Yeah, I forget. Remind me who Nancy's second was, or. I'll get us there. Sorry, I just want to make sure Nancy's second. I don't remember who that was. Does anyone remember who Nancy's second was?
I don't think it was.
Okay.
Point of
All right.
order came out.
Got it.
before
Okay,
the
thank you.
second.
All right. So then, do I have a motion to table this resolution? Do I have a second? Okay. All in favor, raise your hands. All opposed? Okay. And now, do I have a motion to introduce this resolution amended as Nancy read, and there are handouts on the table?
Motion to reintroduce as Nancy read it, or the original with the amendments from Nancy.
Thank you. And a second. All right. So just to be clear, everyone, there's the handouts that are on the back there and that Nancy read out. So we are now debating the resolution as amended. So it notes on line 905 that the applicant has not agreed and changes the resolves in a number of ways, but primarily to be denials at each of the resolves.
With the underlying statement of on all three, unless meaningful bathroom access is provided and clearly communicated to the public.
Great. Any questions? Kevin?
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Nancy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nancy, I had read through this other material that was provided about the importance of access to public bathrooms, and it's all as a person, all very informative. And I agree with it all, of course, but have you applied the same standard of denying applications to previous applicants based on this?
Yes, for at least since 2022 and maybe beyond that. Yes. And if I could finish, and a number of the applicants have agreed to do this. And we actually have a new, I'm going to call it a picture button at the bottom of our homepage called Public Restroom Working Group. And if you click on that, you'll get lots of information, including the new local law and also the importance of access to public bathrooms. There's a kind of a summary of everything.
All right. Any other questions? Comments? Ankur?
Just wanted to briefly explain why I voted against this at committee, and we'll vote against it.
Thank you.
Of course. And we'll vote against it tonight. I love public bathrooms. I'm so excited about, yeah, I know that is a little strange to put on TV. But I am so excited about local law 58, and I strongly agree with the sentiments of this letter.
Oh my God.
And so I'm excited about that. However, I do not think there is a requirement under current law that if you are making a POPS application, that you need to provide a public bathroom.
That is true.
And I don't think we need to have that as our policy, although I appreciate we have consistently done so for years. One place where I think we went a little further than our policy, though, is this applicant said that they will allow people from the public to use the bathroom. They just don't want to have to put a sign up saying it. Which, of course, we as a government agency shouldn't tell people what they have to write on their signs. They are free to express themselves how they'd like. They allow people to use the bathrooms, and I think that's fine. I think we've moved the goalposts a bit. And so for that reason, I think they are offering a great set of cafes, and they do let people from the public use their bathrooms.
I would just like to respond to that. First of all, we're not a government agency. Number one, you misspoke. Number two, we're advisory. We can't force anyone to do anything. And if we don't advocate for things that our community needs, we are not doing our job. And because we have advocated for this since 2022, and even before that, We now have local law 52 of 2025, 58 of 2025, because we have advocated for so many years about this. So we can make an enormous impact with as our advisory role to city agencies.
Okay. Any other comments? Todd?
Yes, I just want to add my voice to Nancy. She's got it exactly right. The issue in these POPs and also in other contexts, this has been something that our community board has been on record for years. It's a perfect example of our responsibility to look out for the people in our district's interests. And it goes to the heart. I mean, the change, if they changed on something like this, not putting up the signage is a backdoor way of limiting the use of their restaurants. So if we want to be consistent with our past actions and set a precedent, we have to be strong on this.
Thank you, Todd. Robert?
So I'm going to have to confess to being a little bit more ambivalent about this comment than I otherwise would be because of the element of what appears to be, I wouldn't say bad faith, but a change in position that hasn't been explained by anyone. So I am ambivalent, and I just want to say that at the outset. But I do share the concerns that have been expressed by some of the commenters here. I agree that public bathrooms are important. I think it's important that we advocate for them, but there are different ways of doing that. Attaching or recommending to attach requirements to activities that we otherwise think are valuable. In this case, I think that the cafes that are being proposed here are valuable. I don't, not only that, but also, as has been pointed out, what is being proposed here is in fact an expansion of bathroom access, perhaps not as much as other people would like. I think we should be supportive of what is being proposed here, notwithstanding the backtracking that seems to have taken place. So I will vote no.
Thank you. You're on.
I agree public bathrooms are important. I am somewhat sympathetic to the idea that theoretically we shouldn't be sort of leaning on private entities to fill in a gap where there should be public amenities. If we need public bathrooms, the city should provide them. However, I am strongly in favor of this resolution. And, there was I don't remember when he did this, but David Sigmund, our professor in residence, once went through an application and took us through the value to the applicant versus the cost of what, I forget whether it was a bathroom. I think it was a bathroom. Yeah, it was a bathroom, right? So versus the cost of a bathroom, and it was minuscule. It was minuscule. And in this case, it's not even it's a sign. And so I think it's a no-brainer. I am sympathetic to the ideas presented in a broad sense, but I think in this case, it's a no-brainer, and I support the resolution.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mike? He's learning.
Thanks. Just to point out, as a user of public bathrooms in the parks and a user and watching the laws, when I walk into a certain park that I know there's a restaurant in that park, that part of its lease says anybody could come in there and sit down at the table, doesn't have to buy anything. I know it. There's no sign that says it. So I'm comparing that to a bathroom sign that may be there or not be there. If there's no bathroom sign there, people aren't going to know that it's there, and nobody's going to use it. And even if there's a sign there, and it's a tiny little sign, half the employees probably won't know that that sign is there, and they'll say no. These are things that you deal with when you go to places like Mr. Pain in the ass there, who does all the time to all of these different places and bust chops just because I know the route, what's the law and everything else. So I think my conclusion is, I don't know, but you can make something of yourself of what I said, maybe.
Thank you.
I'd just like to make a comment.
Go ahead, Nancy.
This is an issue that is particularly important to women, to families with children, and to the elderly. It's less important to others. And I am tired of riding in subway elevators that smell like urine. Okay?
Thank you, Nancy. Any other comments? Okay. Seeing none, we're going to go on to the next one.
Okay, the next one is about our input into the Manhattan plan. And it is what it is a brainstorming document, if you will. And in this document, we have, if you look at it, it's long. We have really 4 categories of proposed ideas that we want Department of City Planning to consider and the city. Unleashing, I think we made that unlocking supply, ULURP reform suggestions, holistic sustainability and resilience, public space and livability. And in our closing statement, we wrote, Community Board 5 supports a balanced Manhattan plan linking new housing with affordability, sustainability, open space, and livability for future generations. And this resolution was passed 10-0-0-0 unanimously. And I'd just like to again refer you to our website homepage, where you can click on another large, I call picture button at the bottom of the homepage that states the Manhattan Plan and Affordable Housing Data Hub. We will be continuing to populate that with more information as we get it.
Thank you, Nancy. Are there any conflicts? Are there any questions? Are there any comments? Samir.
This is great. I look forward to voting yes.
Any other comments? Okay.
Thank you.
It's Nancy. And I will call myself now to the Brad's.
You're on, please step up.
Let it in. Sounds good. Brad.
Chair for 37.
Okay, our last item tonight is a letter regarding the city charter and its proposed revision. So we've discussed this at this board before. I'm going to go through it pretty quickly, but certainly if you have questions, you can ask. So high level, the city charter is essentially the city's constitution. A process was begun at the end of last year. A charter revision commission was formed by the mayor, and they took it upon themselves to think about what are ways that the city charter could be revised in order to help several areas, but specifically the one we're going to talk about tonight is housing. And after much deliberation and testimony and questions and experts and all of that, they arrived at a total of 5 revision recommendations, 3 of which go to the heart of the way that ULURP operates. Nancy's already asked, does everyone know what ULURP is? So I won't do it. And we as a board, as a land use committee, looked at these questions. And of course, it is not our place. And these are, by the way, going to be on the ballot in November for all voters in New York to vote on to see whether they want to amend the charter this way. Of course, as a land use committee and as a board, it's not our role to electioneer or to tell people how they should vote or really weigh in on any of that. But one thing we are, as a community board, we are experts in ULURP because we are a part of that process. And so we took it upon ourselves and our responsibility in part to educate our community to weigh in on the question of should these revisions pass, what do we think the result of those would be? And so I will quickly go through what the 3 revisions are. And this is again, simplifying, you should all, especially as voters, you should go do your own research and thinking about these. So the first question, which is actually called question 2, it's confusing because there will be another question, a ballot initiative on the ballot from the state. That will be question 1. So question 2 is about fast tracking affordable housing. And the question is whether the 12 community districts in the city that produce essentially the least affordable housing, whether ULURPs for affordable housing in those districts should go through a fast track. So what that fast track would look like is, instead of going through the entirety of the ULURP process, it would have 2 steps. It would be 60 days with the community board, as it is now, and then 30 days with the City Planning Commission. And that would be the end of the ULURP process. So the additional steps of going to the City Council would not be there. And that would be true, again, for affordable housing ULURPs in the 12 districts that are producing the least affordable housing. The second proposal is a fast track for affordable housing ULURPs that have what they're calling modest changes. So one thing to note is that in the last 10 years, there were roughly 120 rezonings by private applicants to increase residential density. And what the Charter Revision Commission found was that while many of these doubled or tripled or quadrupled residential capacity, only one of those 120 increased residential capacity by less than 4%. So what the Revision Commission looked at was, they said there's sort of a gap here. ULURP is not, in their opinion, ULURP is not working for small and modest revisions, modest ULURPs. And maybe there's a change that we could make. So the second proposal, which is also called question 3, confusingly, as it relates to us, would be that in medium and high density districts, which is ours, rezonings that enable up to 30% more residential FAR, not more, up to 30%, would go through the same fast track in ULURP that I just described. 60 days at the community board, 30 days at the City Planning Commission. The last question, question 4, establishes an affordable housing appeals board. So for any ULURP that for affordable housing, it establishes a board that, should the City Council deny the ULURP, or should the City Council modify the ULURP, that the appeals board of a mayor or their representative, the speaker of the council or their representative, and the borough president or of the borough in question and their representative would hear that. And if 2 of the 3 of them decide that the ULURP should go through, it would go through, or that the modification should be reversed, it would be reversed. Those are the 3 questions. Again, our resolution, it resolves 2 things. One, that as experts in ULURP, we believe that should these questions be adopted, the result would be more affordable housing in our district, while retaining the voice of the community board. And 2, we urge future revision commissions and other elected officials, as we have before, to think about city planning and housing and all of these things through a wider, more comprehensive lens than just looking at housing in a vacuum. So with that, I will take questions.
Any conflicts? Any questions?
Oh, there is something I want to say. Sorry. At committee, the question of, like, are we allowed to do this because it's a ballot initiative, came up. And as I said, you know, we are not advocating any particular way. We also gave the letter to the law department, and I will read to you what the law department says. They said that we believe that the resolution proposed by CB5 is a close call. So it is our opinion that, as it is presently drafted and as you have described that it will be made public, which is to post it on our website, the proposed resolution is a lawful and appropriate action of the community board.
So any questions? Todd, grab the microphone.
Would you give some the opposing arguments, if you read in the press and in political commentary about the charter revision? There's a lot of opposition to these things.
Yeah.
Could you give the other side of the argument on some of these issues for the benefit of our board as the judge, whether to prove this?
I will give my perception of those arguments, and other people, if they have other perception, can weigh in. The main arguments against come most squarely from the city council itself, for reasons that you can imagine, because the city council feels that, well, I won't say what they feel, because the city council's role in some of these ULURPs would be limited. So that is the main opposition. There are many good governance groups and other politicians who are in favor. And the main opposition comes from the city council itself.
Thank you. Any other questions? Comments? Zool.
So I abstained on this vote during committee. 'Cause I hadn't given it sufficient thought, and I've given it quite a bit of thought. And what's of most interest to me was, how did these proposals end up on the ballot? So that's something I'd really like to think through as a board and in committee. But you know, I appreciate Anchor read verbatim the purpose of the community boards. And we're an advisory board. We speak to the electeds, they come here, and we advise them largely around issues on which the public does not have a direct vote. But here the public has a direct vote. You've already got this. So I think in this case, I'm going to vote no, because I would suggest that all the voters do, as we do here, is think it through, do your own due diligence. Don't vote because someone else is voting some way or another and you haven't done your homework. Let's advise the voters to read this carefully, do their homework, go to all the people who may have a different position than we've taken in this. So I will vote no on this.
May I answer? So the question was, how did these come to be on the ballot? So the resolution actually covers this. The revision commission spent 7 months, I believe, did 30 hours of live testimony, heard 3,000 comments about what they should focus on, and that is how they arrived at these 5 ballot initiatives. And I will just make a second point, which is there was a member of the public who came to our land use meeting and asked us to provide insight or use our expertise to provide insight. So there, at least in that case, there was a request for this.
Yeah, and I appreciate all the work you put into that, Your Honor. I'm sorry I didn't get more involved in what you were doing earlier on.
That's really fine. I was just answering your comment.
No, because I think that fails to answer it, because it does not explain how the Charter Revision Commission is appointed.
Okay. Yes. Samir, you had one? Okay. Nancy. Grab a microphone, please. Someone, yeah. Nope, not yet.
I think we need to be very careful about repeating comments that were just made by one of our members. That does sound to me like electioneering, and we can't do that. The second point I'd like to make is we voted for the city of yes. If we don't make these changes to this ULURP process and you vote no on this, you're now voting no on the city of yes.
Thank you, Nancy. Todd, did you? Yeah, Todd, go ahead.
I hope everybody can hear me.
Yes.
I can't agree with Nancy on this. The criticism that I've read in the press and in the opinion journals has been that the overall impact of these changes, the 3 that are at issue here, is to limit and reduce local review of various issues. Now, it's true that it may have the effect of limiting housing in certain cases, but it's also arguably true that with the right political guile and the right efforts by our elected officials, that there's no reason why the system that's been in place can't shape itself to be more effective. The other thing is, if you look at the detail, the other criticism of it has been, for example, the specific provisions dealing with the city council. Certainly the city council, you can criticize them for a lot of things, but the net effect is you're taking the power out of the hands of directly elected people. The city council, you talk about the big picture. The city council are the elected representatives of our city and our boroughs, and you're giving it to a 6-member group of some of whom are unelected officials. So I would be cautious about us making an opinion about this, and I will vote against this for that reason. And that's not to say that I'm against more affordable housing, right? What we did, what this community board did in passing the city of Yes is we joined very sound conditions and recommendations along with approval, right? So I will be voting against this.
Thank you. Mike Greeley.
I voted no in committee on this resolution, although I do support the first or second question about the fast tracking, because I believe that will address the issue of outer borough districts that are stopping development in their areas when there's single family homes that are the predominant housing model in those areas. And then I support the third question because I believe the Board of Standards and Appeals will be deciding those minor infrastructure and reviewing those projects. And I believe they do a good job at that agency. But the fourth question with the Affordable Housing Appeals Board, I believe that I can agree with, because the sole purpose of the appeals board is to reject what a city council member has negotiated with a developer during ULURP. And then the only action that the appeals board can then take is to return the proposal to what the Department of City Planning originally approved at certification and nullify any concerns that the community board identified during the ULURP process. So I am voting against this.
Thank you, Mike. Mernal.
I'm sorry, this is more of a question than a comment.
I'll allow it.
What's the audience? Where is this going, this letter?
So as Yaron stated, I'll take it. As Yaron stated, because of the guidance of the law department, this will go up onto our website under our resolutions like all the rest of them do, and nothing else.
So if there's a majority no vote on it, it's not going up anywhere.
Correct.
Okay, so to answer, I guess what Nancy's point was, it's not really voting against the city of Yes if we vote no on this majority. It just, the letter doesn't go up.
That's correct.
That would be okay. And then I can follow that up with my comment.
Go ahead.
Regardless of my opinion on the charter revision clauses, which I'm broadly for, I don't think that we should be writing any sort of prescriptive letters. And if anything, we should just be providing the public with both sides of the argument and the resources to make up their own mind, as Zul stated. So I would be voting no on this.
Thank you. Athena.
I joined the board to vote yes on matters like this, and I'll be voting yes.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. This is our last item, and I do just want to note, for clarity's sake, I do see some of you have already voted, and I will chide you all for that later. But just for clarity's sake, the first land use one for 1325 Avenue of Americas, the ballot line that's on the electronic ballot, for all intents and purposes, we will use for the newly introduced resolution, the kind of amended one, not the one sent around in the packet that's an approval. So just so everyone's clear that what you are voting for is the new introduction from this meeting. So with that, everyone please vote. We'll check back in 5 minutes. And I'm going to turn it over to results.
Quiet, please.
Mike. Shh. Lady. You. Yeah. Todd. Thank you.
Trust me, I want to get out of here too. Okay, and I know we have a lot, so I'll try to. Okay, sorry, let me readjust this. Goodness, mess. Okay. Okay, thank you all. Let's try to get through the tally. Wait, testing 1, 2, 3. All right.
Just get close.
Okay. My gosh. All right. Okay. So we are now going to go through the tally. Thank you all for submitting your votes. All right. Approve September 2025 minutes with 37 yes votes, 0 no's, 1 abstain, and 1 absent. That is approved. Next, the resolution in support of Intro 967 or Writer's Law with 25 yes votes, 10 no votes, 3 abstains, and 1 absent. That is approved. Next, the Lexington Avenue bus lane upgrade, 38 yes votes, no vote, 0 no votes, 1 abstain, and that is approved. Next, on the 43rd Street Shared Street Project, we have 38 yes votes, 0 no votes, 1 abstain, and that is approved. Next, the MTA's proposed FM service swap, 38 yes votes, 0 no votes, 1 abstain, that is approved. Moving on, the joint letter with CB4 on the Penn Station public realm, 37 yes votes, 0 no votes, 1 abstain, 1 present not entitled, and that is approved. Next, the Gorham Building or 395th Avenue exec committee on behalf of Landmarks. That is 37 yes votes, 0 no votes, 2 abstains, and that is approved. Moving on 125 Park Avenue or the Pershing Square Building, we have 36 yes votes, 0 no votes, 3 abstains, and that is approved. Next, excuse me, this is taking a while, so I'm getting parched. So we have on the public art installations in Union Square Park, 38 yes votes, 0 no votes, 1 abstain, and that is approved. Next, the Bryant Park Winter Village, we have 35 yes votes, 3 no votes, 1 abstain. That is also approved. Moving on, the comments on the negotiation for the Union Square Partnerships Conservancy application. That is 33 yes votes, 3 no votes, 3 abstains, and that is approved. 1325 Avenue of the Americas, the amended zoning text, etc. That has 32 yes votes, 5 no votes, 2 abstains, and that is approved. Next to last, the penultimate item, Manhattan Plan recommendations for CB5. That has 36 yes votes, 1 no vote, 2 abstains. That is approved. And finally, our ultimate item, the comment to Charter Revision Commission land use reforms, 30 yes votes, 5 no votes, 3 abstains, and 1 absent on that one, and that is approved.
Great. Thank you very much, Milan. All right. So now I open up the floor for any new business. All right. Mike, I see you.
The mic. It's working. So you guys are in for a treat. You're really lucky because I'm going to announce the new dates for the free tours that I will be offering. First of all, the next Garment District free tour is on the 21st of October, which is on a Tuesday. And on that tour, you would learn something like why the Garment Center moved to where what is today and the person responsible. I have a photograph of the one person responsible for those 350,000 jobs moving into the area that today we call the Garment District. Come on my tour and you will meet her. So I am doing on election day, another garment. So people who are off, who've been saying, oh, when you only do it during the week, come on election day. If you're off, you can join my tour. I'll remind you at the next meeting. These tours are on my website, www.Mike's New York City Tours, NYC. And I'll give you my card if you want. Wait, I'm not done. Hold on a minute. Now on the Flatiron District, I will also be doing a tour on the Flatiron District on December 7th. And on the Flatiron District tour, you will learn where the mother of Winston Churchill lived. You'll see the exact location, and you will learn why the triangles at the intersection of Broadway and 14th, 23rd, 34th, and 42nd Street are called squares. Why those triangles are called squares, because you know they are, right? They're all triangles. And why the round one on 59th Street is called a circle. And that's also a triangle. So all of these things, you come, you promise you're going to have a good time. And if you don't, they'll give your money back.
All right, sit down. Thank you, Mike. All right, any other new business? Seeing none, thank you, everyone. Next, we have the public session. Before you all leave, are there any speakers either in the room or online who would like to speak? As a reminder, at this time, any comment should be about a topic that was not heard, not covered during the meeting, and that they did not speak to the board about during the public hearing. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand to be recognized, either in person or virtually. Charles. Can someone bring a mic? That one.
Hi, I'm concerned lately about audio quality in different committees that I've attended through Zoom, where audio feed has been lost for quite some time in land use and in the quality of life committee too. So I'm hoping that the board can address that moving forward so that people online don't miss crucial things that are being spoken about in committee in person. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, this meeting is adjourned.